with multiple returning visits, but the first time all in the same one, Liana and Bianca. Thank you two for joining me.
Thank you. I am co-streaming this on my channel too, so hopefully we'll
Yep,
get some new peoples here.
hopefully we
Waves
will.
hands.
Yeah.
Yep. So first, let's just start off off the bat. Liana, you just started a Kickstarter based off of your boss fight stuff, a
I
video game.
did.
Yep, and people can join up and subscribe and or not subscribe, back
Yeah.
it and
Back.
get.
Yeah.
Yep, sorry, back it
Yeah.
and get custom NPCs, your pets, and
Yeah.
yeah.
We're doing this differently than most gaming Kickstarters because my art director and I, Mary Jest, we've worked on other games, indie games. I've done some AAA work, but whenever you do this crowdfunding, everything's at the end. It becomes diminishing returns, right? You have all this stuff to implement at the last minute, and so we were like, why don't we do one thing exclusively for people who want this experience? Because first of all, it's more affordable, right? Normally when you have these things put in the game, it's $300 for a character that just kind of stands there and has a little bio, right? Or $200 for a gravestone or something like that.
Yep.
uh and we're like, that's only because it's stacked with so many other things. The
Mm-hmm.
actual cost of putting it in, like, well, it's worth about 25 bucks US because we're doing it at the beginning and have to make a bunch of NPCs anyway. And
Right.
pro tip, a lot of the times when game developers are creating the NPCs in a village, they just name it after real life people anyway.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
we're like, why not make this much like the boss fight series where people can get in on the ground floor and be a part of it? Because as somebody who's been in video games, who's been in comic books, it is a
Mm-hmm.
cool experience, and that's something I'd like to share.
Yep.
um but I
Yep.
also wanted like a cool Christmas gift for people after years of COVID, and they're going to be supply shortages. Stuff has kind of sucked in the world lately.
Oh yeah.
So a game that's about happiness and friendship, and being good to people should do things that are good to people and make some money while we're at it. There'll be another crowdfund closer to the end after the playable demo that this funds. We're doing the Doom, the original Doom marketing strategy
The
where
shareware,
the
shareware.
shareware. Yeah, we're just gonna release like a 6 to 10 hour mini game that
Mm-hmm.
everybody can play. That's what this is gonna make. Obviously,
Oh yeah.
it's an RPG. It's gonna be much longer than 6 to 10 hours. So it's just a little
Oh yeah.
sampler. And you see that it's like parties of 4 with 10 playable characters to choose from. Three, well, 4 of which are people or color, 3 of which are furries, and one of the persons of color is also a furry. So it's we're calling it an eclectic cast, not a diverse cast, because diverse cast has a charge, and
Right.
it's not
Right.
that kind of game. It's
What
if
kind
you
of
want.
charge?
Well, the idea that it's humorless and preachy, and it's not it's not stuff that real people like, and
Mm.
Right.
it's just, I don't like that. I don't want to get in that fight, uh, because that's not fair to anybody. And so, it's a fun first game. If you watch the trailer, it's a swan telling them to sawed off and um, stuff like that. And
But yeah,
the
I like the pledges you got. Like the custom NPC, like you said, custom petable pets.
Yep, you can pet the dogs and the cats and the
Yep.
ferrets and the frogs. And Mary just is every time I've said, "Hey, can we do this?" Uh, he says, "Yes." One person wanted a trout. Okay, but we
Oh, that's when I backed.
yeah, there you
Mhm.
go. We
Yep.
basically want the games that we played as kids that we fell in love with, stuff like, I mean, the trailer references Final Fantasy III, The Legend of Zelda, Monkey Island,
No, yep.
um, Quest for Glory, but there's also a ton of
You're
Chrono
mentioning my
Trigger.
childhood right there.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger, Ultima, a lot of Ultima.
Oh yeah.
stuff like that. There a lot of Baldur's Gate, at least on
Oh
my
yeah.
end. Mary just hadn't been as familiar with Baldur's Gate, but we just wanted this to be happy from start to
Right.
finish, right? Just
Oh,
happy. And like
yep, yep.
everything has haters. You can't avoid haters, but we want this to be fun and happiness and good people saving the world. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
definition of what's good
Right.
is very different for, a samurai style warrior or, an African princess or a succubus, right? The
Right. I'm about to.
idea
Yeah.
of goodness, they don't all agree on. So that's where this sort of um, moral stuff is. And it's set in a fantasy world. So when I say African, it's more African inspired
Oh, I
than
noticed this
actual
sold out
Africa.
fast.
Well, yeah,
The.
I expected that to go quickly. And that writing module I
Mm-hmm.
put back in because the one for the boss fight video series was so beyond my imagining of what people put into it.
Mm-hmm.
I expected people to just do cutesy little bios, spent 3 days on it. And no, a bunch of them went together and created this whole shared universe, and all the Lady Bits characters knew each other. And I'm like, we've got a whole fantasy world here. So that's where the game came from.
Mm-hmm.
And no, people keep saying Final Fantasy VII. It is not. It is the Japanese Final Fantasy III. Social Justice Warrior is based on the Onion Knights from
Ah.
Final Fantasy III. It is
Onions.
not Final Fantasy VI. I Yeah, the Onion Knight. It's sort of this, starting from humble beginnings kind of thing. But then at the end of Final Fantasy III, the Lonely Onion Knight, I think when he hits like level 92 or something like that, becomes freakishly powerful.
Is he real?
So, no, I don't.
Dang it.
Anything Japanese, I only kind of understand. Bianca, I let it wash over me. Playing the Yakuza games has been really transformative for me as a game designer, because the idea of open world and the idea of RPG, it actually felt more realistic to play a game where everything you do doesn't affect the greater story than when everything matters, right? So
Like a GTA kind of game?
yeah, that more open world feel, but still with RPG elements. So yeah, there we go. After level 90, the Onion Knight gets piss powerful, whatever that means. That is the inspiration from Final Fantasy III. That sometimes it's good to stick with one class all the way through, because
Mm-hmm.
these characters are so big characters. We're actually
Right.
focusing on role playing. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there is combat. If you see the trailer, it's classic turn-based combat. We experimented with an ATB style system. It was a hot mess, and I was just, I hate this. No, turn it off. We're doing turn-based. But the characters are such strong characters. We actually want people to role play. We want
Mm-hmm.
people to interact with the characters and try different combinations and experiment with different things, instead of just trying to min-max the entire game
Right. Right.
for stats or loot items, right? That's the tabletop experience that is difficult but not impossible to pull over into video game RPGs.
Yep.
So
Kind of like
yeah,
the Ultimate games as well in that regard. Well,
I
the
mean,
later one, the later ones when they introduce the companions.
right. And I mean, the morality system in video games is
Mm-hmm.
relatively unchanged from Ultima. I'm going to get this wrong.
Ultimate 4 is when they
Ultima
introduce
4,
the. Yeah, 4 is
the
the one where they
the
introduce the
avatar,
virtues,
but
the
the
virtues.
virtues. Yeah, yeah,
Which I
yeah.
gotta say though was so clever, and in the very next game they completely not disregard it but turn it on its head.
Well, and that, I mean, that to me was sort of the beginning of video game ethical philosophy. The fact that Richard
Mm-hmm.
Garriott, who I absolutely idolize, I got to interview the guy. Well, I got to interview General British once. I have never
Lord,
spoken to Richard Garriott. Well, he was General British for Tabula Rasa at the
ah,
time, and it was one of the worst interviews I've ever done because I was so in awe. But
you ever see
his
Spoonie's interview with him?
yes. Yes. I was, he said people were running around just slaughtering entire villages and
Oh
getting
yeah, just quick
Ultima 3.
XP.
Right. And he thought, okay, let's find a way where they can do that, but there's actually benefits to not doing that because we don't
Hmm.
want people to do that. And there's definitely a lot of
But
this.
without punishing them either, though, of course.
Right. I notice you say punishment as you scroll over the cat man in a banana hammock and leather chaps. That was well done, Robert.
That was
Well
complete
done.
coincidence. Complete coincidence.
Sure. Well done. We all know people are thirsty for Mouse. Mouse is actually a bit of my revenge on a girl gamer group that I was a part of who kicked me
Oh,
out for not agreeing that Fall from Grace from Torment was a better character than Anna. And it was
oh.
because, Anna was this redhead with big boobs and a skimpy outfit. So like, hey, redhead, skimpy outfit.
I just noticed about his outfit. No, the fact that particular area is cut out from his pants.
Okay, but there's a reason for that because this is medievalist armor, right?
Right.
There's no spandex, there's no stretch fabrics in that time period. So in
Mm-hmm.
order uh he's a swordsman, so
Mm-hmm.
dexterity is his thing. He's a
Mm-hmm.
cat, so he needs to be able to like lift his leg over his head to like clean his own tail, among other
Mm-hmm.
things. And he has an
Oh.
epee as a sword, which is not a blocking weapon. It's a
Mm-hmm.
he needs to be able to move. The shoulder pauldrons are for, blocking occasional things, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't. I've worn actual armor. You cannot move in that stuff.
Oh
Even
no. I was talking about around the crotch area.
well, that's again. I don't care who you are. You take a hit there, it hurts.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, he's a dodge character. He's not a block
Mm-hmm.
character. Also, furries spend money. I am not one of those people who pretends to go, ooh, furries. I love furries. I'm an accidental furry. I cosplay Chitara from Thundercats because somebody
Hey.
requested it, not recognizing what that meant. I backed into furriness. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff like this that I think is still viable from the old games before everybody started overthinking
Right.
everything. And so, um, if people want a rhinoceros man instead of a wolf man, or I mean, we're not.
Or a person with a ram head, and
There you
well,
go,
we'll get to
right?
that. We'll get to
We'll get
that.
to that, right? But one of the feedback we got is it was funny because somebody said there aren't any female furries, and I said Princess Sparkle Pony's a female furry, and then as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, "That's not what they meant. They meant sexy female furries."
Right.
They are in the game. We just
Hmm.
had to be we selected the playable characters for gameplay style. All of the bosses from Boss Fight are in the game, either as
Nice.
shopkeeps or, some evil queen from Lady Bits is in it.
Hmm.
Anne Reardon's still in it because Tomoe, the Asian lady, is part of that horrible fake pandering macho guy game, Angel Protocol. She's
Yep.
the first character introduced, and she's got like that Vocaloids wig and everything like that. So we made her playable, but Anne is still in the game. Shao Kahn's in the game. Rocco Henchman's in the game. I mean, pretty much every boss fight character ended up in the game. We had to expand the cast because obviously I play every character except
Hmm.
for the animals who are
Hmm.
also in the game, hence all the pets, but also the social justice bard, Ian Jardine. He was actually in Boss Fight. He was just a collection of stock footage.
Ah.
So Ian finally gets to be a character with his cancellation origin story through Zarkazan and all that. So
Hmm.
that ended up coming together in a very interesting way because one of the things we did was we talked to people about eh, you know what they want in diverse, or as we say, eclectic characters.
Right.
And it was interesting because the answers were not at all what you'd expect from uh, what you see coming out of gaming. It was, they want people first. They want individuals first.
Right,
Just,
right,
just please watch the stereotypes. And so we spent a lot
right.
of time going, okay, what stereotypes?
Mm-hmm.
And so those were very, very interesting. And the thing about Ian is that if you look at his design, he's visibly mixed race.
Yep, I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's part of his story, and that's going to be fun to create that kind of thing in a fantasy world and
Mm-hmm.
challenge every assumption because hey, that world doesn't have to be like our world, and what does that mean? Right?
Right.
But again, in a fun way with jokes,
Mm-hmm.
right? I grew up watching absolutely fantastic ahead of their time comedy series like In Living Color.
Oh, yep,
Which
yep.
was Mad TV years before Mad TV
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
far superior, I thought, to SNL at the time.
Oh yeah,
And
and the joke always that they're the ones who technically got
he launched Jim Carrey.
oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. I was thinking about a different comedic comedy sketch, but yeah, Living Color, yeah.
Sorry, I just saw the question. Is a talking cow with pants a pet or NPC type? Are they bipedal or quadrupedal?
Yeah, that's
That
the
is the
important
big
part.
difference. That is the big difference. Probably, I mean, I know there's one pet style character that will talk because they're a service animal in the
Mm-hmm.
game. Somebody asked, disability people with disabilities and stuff like that, whether they could include a service animal, and I said yes, and so we sort of had that. Uh, so that I think it's just the animation sprite templates, and
Mm-hmm.
so pet, quadrupedal, NPC, bipedal. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't walk on. It's not four legs good, two legs better in this game.
Right.
It's
Hey,
right.
here's a question for the NPC.
Yeah.
Can we have it be our NPC character be a character who is, at least in the real world, maybe a robot that's, and they say, "Hey, I jumped in here," or are they aware they're in a game, or?
Yes, another influence for me. If you look at the Armand character, the
Mm-hmm.
wolf, the
Right.
space wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Inspirations for that are pretty obvious, but we
Right.
wanted to put in there are sci-fi elements in this world because one of the game franchises that blew my mind
Mm-hmm.
was the Wizardry
Ah.
series.
Oh,
And
yep. I'm aware of those. Yep.
yeah, weird dark fantasy RPG series. And one of the things that I'm like, what? They have fantasy and science fiction in the same
Mm-hmm.
game?
Same
This
with the
is
first Ultima. The
possible?
first Ultima
Yeah.
did too.
Yeah. And so we've definitely got that. And in boss fight, they have the social justice warriors, the white
Mm-hmm.
knights,
Mm-hmm.
using glowy box to go to Earth to get Nana Muscori albums and box sets of the Golden Girls. So there already is this sort of He-Man sort of yes, they can jump to Earth thing. So yeah, if people wanted that, if there's Earth technology or something like that in it,
Right.
there's definitely the opportunity for that. We wanted to keep it as open-ended as possible because again, you go back to the old Sierra games or even
Mm-hmm.
Ultima or Baldur's Gate. They do have those fourth wall breaks,
Right. You
right?
mentioned this. You mentioned Sierra. Armand kind of reminds me at least of some of the crew during Space Quest 6.
There is some Space Quest there. We're not.
Yeah.
I'm not talking yet about Armand's inspirations, but he
Right.
was the character that first I'm like, I don't know about this because
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get in trouble here. I'm not a big James T. Kirk fan, but I
Oh.
know, I know.
Hey,
Least favorite.
I really like Kirk. All right, I like all of them, but for me, Cisco's always number one.
Yeah, I of the Kirk, Spock, McCoy. Kirk is distant last in terms
Oh,
of
ouch.
yeah, it's Spock, McCoy, Kirk for me. Not I never liked Captain Kirk, but we've played with the character and there are other inspirations of the character. We're going to be releasing character portrait sketches on
Mm-hmm.
the Song Sparkle Twitter account. We've already got some risque Kickstarter jokes up there in character, and so you'll hear more about sort of what happened with Armand and how that developed. But it's been fun to play with the different character voices and make sure they're different
Mm-hmm.
enough that the character changes are meaningful. One of the reasons we have Princess Sparkle Muffin as the party healer, because you may notice I play a lot of RPGs. And one
Mm-hmm.
of my frustrations with RPGs is you ended up stuffing a character in the party you didn't like so much because you needed a healer or you need a rogue, right? And so we
Mm-hmm.
have enough characters with enough skill overlap, but Princess Sparkle Muffin's the healer. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have this boring, underdeveloped cleric character to make sure you've got party heals. You
Right,
can
right.
pick the other three characters that you want, that you like, and mix and match for various
Exact.
missions.
Right.
Because the number of RPGs I've played where some characters were just so essential. Oh wow, kicked off a whole Star Trek captain thing with that. That's pretty cool. Um, but that's always a big. I ended up with, oh, I forget who, but there are some people I just keep in my party because they're useful. I don't
Right.
like them. I find other characters
Oh,
funnier, but
there's
you
there's
gotta pick.
plenty of characters like that in games. But I guess this: are you at all basing any of Princess Sparkle Muffin's moveset on Peach from Mario RPG?
No.
All right,
Uh,
because that was when Peach was actually being active and a bit more of a badass. What's in that game?
yeah, Princess Sparkle Muffin's attacks are, oh yay, Roger the Cat, yay.
Mm-hmm.
Princess Sparkle Muffin's attacks are all songs because she's
Ah.
a fairy tale princess. She doesn't have a
Mm-hmm.
weapon. She has opera gloves that
Right.
are that you can swap out. But it's warble the wound away,
Mm-hmm.
and her special attacks are the damsel retab. The whole thing about Princess Sparkle Muffin has always been the experiment of the cliche of why can't a damsel in distress rescue
Save herself. Yeah.
themselves? And well, it sort of goes from there in a comedic way. She sings songs and talks to animals and is really
Mm-hmm.
nice and makes friends easily, and those are her powers. So, yeah, I mean, okay, her cry for help causes damage because it's a eardrum piercing, but uh,
You
yeah,
had
yeah.
fun coming up with these, didn't you?
Well, what's funny is they all sort of happened. Princess Sparkle Muffin and Social Justice Warrior were originally supposed to be one-offs on Lady Bits.
Yep.
They were just the versus mode
Mm-hmm.
characters, and they sort of took on lives of their own. And I was actually really trepidatious with Social Justice Warrior, but people love that dude. But then it was things like, well, every princess has a pony. But I hate that trope. We all know I am He-Man Battle Cat, not She-Ra Swiftwind. So how would I make a pony for like 10-year-old me? Oh, it'd be a unicorn that was a disguised demon that eats souls, poops out the magical after effects, and hucks it at people.
The fact that you came
Nice.
up, you've gone as far with the toilet humor, but in a way that is not overbearing.
Have you ever done horseback riding? You spend any time around horses, the shit is part of the experience.
Yep, I'm aware of
And
that.
it just became more and more. We're just like, oh, we'll euphemize the poop. We'll have them flinging poop emojis, and then somebody on the team said, make her squat. Like actually have the
I
ultimate
saw that in the
animation.
trailer. I
Where
saw
she's
that
like
in the trailer.
grinding it out, right? And we just all loved it. And to me, that's another tangible detail of this game being fun first. Is it's a rainbow unicorn that eats souls, and then because it's an alchemy character, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
plan because you can craft poop from one fight. That hot topic poop is like a slow spell or something like that. It's a status debuff. So you can craft your hot topic poop from a fight against, a darkness demon and save that for another fight against, say, a fire being or something like that. But you can craft poop from the fire being for flaming poop for another fight. So we've done a riff on an alchemist character. The same
Mm-hmm.
way Armand is the party wizard, but it's not magic, or as he says, wizard because he has an accent. But uh, it's drones, it's battle drones, and of course in this
Mm-hmm.
fantasy realm nobody knows what these battle drones are, so they're just like, he's a wizard, it's pronounced wizard, and it goes from there. But he's
Mm-hmm.
wizard class, he plays like a wizard even though it's tech. So,
Right.
and I mean, you're starting to see the very, very Japanese influences in that,
Yeah.
right? That's much more what the Japanese do with their RPGs than in like Fire Emblem and stuff like that
Right.
than what the West does. The West is very in lanes, and I don't understand it. I think it's just,
I would say some recent crowdfunding ones are a bit more experimental.
yeah, but that's not AAA. I mean,
Right. Right. Oh yeah, the triple A ones. Oh yeah, they are
yeah,
definitely.
the teams are too big. They're trying to appeal to too many people, and in the science fiction thing you can have biotics, which is basically magic, right? Whether it be the force or
I was just
yeah,
thinking with Mass Effect. I was
yeah.
just thinking with Mass Effect.
Biotics are magic, man. Like Adam and Eve, when you're hucking bees at people in Bioshock, that is magic. I don't care what
I mean,
anybody
Matt.
says.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, it's Bioshock.
in the fantasy side, it's like everybody gets brain lock about, no, we
Ugh.
can't have any tech at all. And to me, magic is just science unexplained.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, the tech
the
wizard.
tech
Yeah.
wizard. Yeah. So that's sort of, we're just playing with all the different character classes and trying to give people a new experience, and that's also part of the reason we went turn-based, right? Is so
Mm-hmm.
people can stop and go, okay, what does this do? Do I really want to do this? A lot of people don't attempt these RPGs because they're super intimidating when you
Right.
start. I was really inspired by Mario X Rabbids Kingdom Battle as a baby's first
Oh
turn-based,
yeah.
baby's first turn-based game. I'm like, that's what I want. I want people, even if they just play the 6 to 10 hour shareware demo, to get a sense that they now understand what these games are. Because there's a gulf in the marketplace between, these massive, sprawling, crazy graphics, fully cinematic cutscenes in, BioWare CD Projekt games, and then the Japanese stuff like Fire Emblem, which I love, but those games are hard.
Oh yeah. From
There's
what
a
I've seen,
learning
yeah.
curve on those. Those are get good games,
Get
right?
good. Yep.
Yeah. So we wanted
But
something that
not
was,
full on Bloodborne, Dark Souls.
mm-mm.
Level. Not that level though.
But and then the people who like story driven stuff complain that these games are too hard and they just
Mm,
want the story, and it's like, well, there are other ways to make something that a story driven player can play, but somebody who loves the combat grinding can also have. And it comes down to, well, have multiple solutions to one problem the way they did
mm-hmm.
back in 1989 in the
Oh yeah,
original
the old
Fantasy
days when they
Wars.
did that. Yeah.
Yeah. And those had to fit on a 256K floppy
Mm-hmm.
disk. So if they could do it back then,
Yep.
come on.
Yeah,
Right?
I could come behind. But
Yeah.
also, I would say, funny you mentioning that with just picking your parties and all that stuff. Because when I look at it with Mass Effect, one thing I always liked is that after going through all the games, when you get to the Citadel DLC in 3, if they're the character you didn't pick at all, they will openly say, "I never seem to get picked." I
Yeah.
love moments like that, and unfortunately for me, it's always Ashley. Even though I try to pick Ashley as often as I can, it's still nothing compared to, well, I always get Tali and Garrus. I always take those two.
Yeah, see, that's another thing we're trying to solve the problem of. You can only pick 4,
Mm-hmm.
and people playing these games will be nerds. I'm a nerd. I use that term
Mm-hmm.
lovingly.
Mm-hmm.
We're the people who in life didn't get picked.
Right.
The idea of picking your party, you're like, oh wow, I'm the asshole that made me feel bad in school now. And you get this weird choice paralysis.
Right.
And so we want it to be more of it is the 10 characters,
Right.
right? And everybody gets a turn. It's more like the experience of sitting down and playing the original Super Mario, and there's 2 controllers, but you got your 4 friends, so everybody takes turns,
Right.
right? That's the experience we're trying to create, and there will be scenes where, it's just a little scene where people are talking and you can just interact and respond in character and all that stuff. And we don't want that triggering the trauma of being picked last for the proverbial softball team,
Right.
because SJW has a
Dodgeball team
lot of
game.
SJW has a lot of trauma triggers, and
Mhm.
we have to respect his lived experience.
Now, are you going to do any points where if you have a certain character in during a story sequence and that they might be unique dialogue? Are you going to do anything like that?
Oh yeah,
Nice.
there's that's what's gonna be. Pacing is something we're really experimenting with,
Mm-hmm.
and how to break up those story chunks, because
Right.
I've worked on games where I did both narrative design and writing, where we
Mm-hmm.
wanted those interjections
Mm-hmm.
in dialogue, and it's a lot of quest tracking.
Right.
It's
Right.
really easy to mess up. You go in and you change a few things, your dialogue becomes completely broken,
Oh boy,
everything
I
like that.
bet.
But we want that experience of, okay, you go talk to this group of people and it's different depending on who you have in your party.
Oh yeah, someone might make things worse. Someone might actually give you a shortcut.
And that's the other thing we wanted, that make things worse thing. The thing I loved about Yakuza 0, playing as Kiryu. I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody's played the game.
I've started it. I never got far yet.
I know some people who are here from my channel watched me play the game, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a game that my Twitch audience requested. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I've heard good things about it, but I don't want to play as a, murdering gangster. Little did I know the whole idea of the
Oh yeah.
design was that they didn't want to glorify the mob, right?
Right.
So you get in this game, and at first I started to min-max, like get it right, like get the good
Mm-hmm.
outcome, because I was so trained that way.
Yeah.
And then especially with Kiryu, because Kiryu's dumb as a bag of hammers, it was more fun to have him mess up and just get owned by like 9-year-old kids, right? And there's no penalty, there's no real meaningful penalty in the game for that. And this is brilliant. This is not a mistake. This is role playing,
Right.
right? So we want to have falling upward opportunities the same
Yep.
way that you'll get a payout at the end. No matter what you pick, you'll get your little bit of money at the end. We don't want to be, we don't want to be an inventory full of junk
Oh,
game
I
either.
hate.
Yeah.
Back to Ultima. How many spears did you pick up in one of the games?
And that's one of those things I think also have been copied from. A game did it, like Ultima did it, so people just copied Ultima.
Yep, and I'm just having a joke with that engine for one of the games
Right.
where it's like spear, 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 spear,
Yeah.
spear. It's like,
but I mean, it becomes incredibly unsatisfying looting corpse after corpse after corpse for 3 coins and a rusty longsword.
oh, don't get me started
Right?
on those.
That you, and I don't know about you, but when I play these RPGs, I am
The too good to use.
The too good to use. You get this awesome potion, but there's only one.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you'll probably never find it again.
Potion of Frost Giant Strength, right? Sat in my inventory in Baldur's Gate 1. I think I played through the game 4 times and never used the friggin' thing.
Because you're always
too
wanting
good to use, right?
Exactly.
You don't see it in the stores. So what we're doing is, no, there's different types of currency, if you will. There's stuff that, there's different types of currency that you can use at the different shopkeeps, and you can get what you want, because it's not fun to collect stuff with the dopamine buildup of collecting stuff if you don't get to spend it.
Yep. Oh, you know what'd be funny? You should have it be, if you can, I don't know how the programming for these games works, but you should have it be where some specific, like these too good to use happen. Some of them happen early on, and eventually when you get to a certain point, now you'd have to figure out what the timing of it would be for someone to reach the point of like, like what you're just describing. But next
Right.
thing you know, the store then makes a joke like, "Hey, we got all of these in," and it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
that would definitely be an Ann Reardon move. Gouging
yeah.
the market, creating
Exactly.
yeah.
Or that would be like, why weren't they ever available before? Someone's been hoarding them all.
Yeah. But yeah, inventory hoarding drives
Oh,
me crazy.
the Master Ball makes sense. Someone
Yeah.
brought with Pokemon. That makes sense from a story point of view. That's a game breaker. That is
Well,
a
see,
game breaker.
there's a difference to me between the too good to use potion or the too good
Mm-hmm.
to use consumable item and that
One that
inventory
kills.
item from those old adventure games that sits in your inventory the entire time and you finally use it at the end of the game.
The
Those are
fish in Space Quest 6.
right, exactly. Those
Oh,
are
you remember?
totally different tropes.
Yeah,
Um,
because I always remember that. It's just like, hey, here's your fish. It's like, can you
yeah,
get rid of this fish?
I'm good with the fish in Space Quest 6.
Yeah,
It's
because
the
it's a
too
gag. It's a gag. It's like, can I get rid of this?
it's the too good to use consumable that
Right.
drives me nuts because as a designer you sit there going, how is this fun? And how
Right.
is taking up an inventory space from this thing that you're keeping it because it's powerful, but who cares if you don't use it because you don't know when to use it, right?
Exactly.
If people want to chuck cold fire at people and there's a consumable item that can do that, well, keep in
Mm-hmm.
mind you might be able to do it with pony poop. Pony poop is very versatile. Just rub it in, it's good for the skin, right? But yeah, people used to hoard things in WoW. The hoarding, this is a
Mm-hmm.
habit I have in RPG. I'm designing a game to break that habit. I
Right.
want, because Yakuza was the same way. You spend money like it's water. It's the 80s
Mm-hmm.
in Japan. And it was fun, man. Once I got out of that desire to hoard and it was just spent in money,
Oh
it
yeah.
felt good, right?
Yep.
So that we're trying to do that, give people the experience they want to have in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the stuff they buy and the characters they focus on, but then every character will have their own little quest where you learn about them and they get their they get their own item of sort of specialized
Right.
time, space, and death sort of thing, the loyalty mission kind of thing
Right.
that is there too. But I want people, the shopkeeps are such a critical part of the game because
Mm-hmm.
they're the old boss fight characters. That first of all, I want
Right.
people to come back to the shops because they're there and everybody loves them. And yeah, as as Eileen said, if something's trashable, sellable, just tell us so. And I don't see the point
Or
of
how about all
tearing
the
it.
useless inventory items that build up? At least with Resident, that's why I was talking about Resident Evil. They usually tell you you don't need this anymore.
Mhm.
Drop it. Now there are times where they trick you though. There were those few cases where they would trick you, like
Yeah.
if you kept it, you get a secret. But
Yep.
for the most part, it's like, yeah, I prefer those where because I hate having those build up of useless inventory items. That's why I like it how these days have people I've seen how separate them as regular inventory, story important inventory.
Right.
I
And
don't know
then
when that started, but I thank whoever did.
sell junk. Well, that was because too many people were accidentally soft locking their 60-hour game experience,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, we're not going to have junk.
Mm-hmm.
All items are going to be useful, and yeah, there are I think in the demo they show one part where like dark chocolate, different types of chocolate, because it's Princess Sparkle Muffin. It's all baked
Yeah.
goods, right? So different types of chocolate are a particular currency. It doesn't just tell you can use this, but it tells you where you can use that particular
Right.
type of currency. So if you really like those items, you can pursue the chocolate missions,
Right.
instance, right? And this is going to be one of those things where we want people to complete because they like the story. When
Right.
people stop having fun, okay, just go finish the game. Just go win, right? Whereas we don't want people to have to grind to make the end fight beatable.
Right.
We want people to grind to make the end fight different.
Mhm.
If that's sort of that's the philosophy But
Right.
the 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 pockets full of garbage
Hmm.
reality. I remember those big giant purses in the late 90s and early 2000s where you had your life
uh,
in there and you couldn't find anything. We do not want inventory. People like the outrage from social justice warriors.
outrage.
Yeah, we don't want people spending a ton of time in those meaningless
Right.
um vendor transactions.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. Some people love it. I liked Too Human. I loved the inventories full of very colorful junk armor,
Hmm.
but gaming has evolved beyond that,
Right.
and and that's again the old classic adventure game. If you could pick something up in those games,
Anything that's
it
not
was
nailed down.
it
Yeah.
was useful, right? You knew eventually you had to use it for something.
Right.
So,
Unless they made a joke out of it. Like I always remember during Day of the Tentacle, where you
right.
pick up that after Laverne gets knocked into something, she picks up like it has a dent shaped like my head. Why did I pick this thing up?
Yeah, but that was a humor game as well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
we
now,
we we want to make it very clear what
hmm
everything does. But this is really great feedback that we're on the right track
yep.
because yeah.
But
Um,
just want to move on to other topics now.
of
I'm grateful
course,
we've
so we
been
can get
talking about.
Bianca in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I want to bring up one other
What?
thing. You want to
You
know
wanna
what
know?
one of my favorite examples of a unique dialogue sequence in a game? Back to Mass Effect. If you have Edie with you during the Citadel mission, and when she gets shut down, and again, normally if she's not there, you just hear her. But if she's there, you see her body go like, no, uh-oh, I'm okay. It's just like, again, I love unique moments like that that only can be done with that type of thing. And then it makes you dying laughing from it.
See, I give BioWare credit for going there just because those sequences are so expensive.
Oh yeah, so expensive, but but
They
even
work,
then,
yeah.
but even with Mass Effect 3 though, it was still cutting corners though. It's like they only related to the two ongoing arcs with Talia and Rex, their stuff.
The way people remember the Mass Effect franchise is always so instructive to me because
Hmm.
every game cut corners in different ways.
Oh yeah.
I mean, do you remember in the first game where every dungeon was the same map? The
Oh
exact
god.
same map?
Oh good god. I that always drove me nuts. And then the villain layout was almost always the same,
Yeah,
especially when it's the go here, go do this, go repeat it there, go
yeah.
repeat it there. The,
But
the, the moon mission. The moon mission right
yeah,
there was all in one map. One.
yeah. But people don't remember that first and foremost. They remember the character designs were great and the game was really
Hmm.
pretty and it was a fun time,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They remember the little moments like I am the very model of a scientist, Solarian,
I have that.
or Hamlet, that kind of stuff. This is my favorite shop on the Citadel, and
I always love that.
that's really instructive
Hmm.
because nobody's going to make a perfect game, but if those experiences, if those moments are there, and then you stick the ending,
Hmm.
people will walk away going, I had fun.
Yep.
Problem with Mass Effect 3 is it didn't stick the ending, right?
Yeah.
And
They had
that
to go back and expand it and all that, and you have fans fixing it.
well, it was it just really felt like they ran out of money and or time
Yep.
with that first ending.
So let me ask you this: who's your usual pick for the sacrifice on Bearmeyer?
Oh, Ashley, I
Oh,
think.
really? I always
Oh,
take.
yeah.
I always do Caden. I always do Caden.
See, I never liked Ashley, and I am in the minority
No,
on this
actually, from
one.
what I've noticed, you might not be. Maybe in your circle, but I've heard there's a lot of people who just cannot stand Ashley.
I kind of liked Caden because he was broken, and Ashley was kind of racist. So
Oh yeah, but she gets over it though.
she does. I don't know. When I play those games, I don't want normal girl.
Oh,
in
that's
my
true.
party,
And
right?
then, of course, by the third game, she goes from like she looking like a soldier to, oh, we got to sex her up, and that's like,
And
you know,
I don't know why anybody thought anybody would be looking at Ashley with everything else that was going on in
mm-hmm,
Mass Effect, chafing or otherwise, right?
right,
I know people who are like Ashley's freaking hot, but it's like who in that game wasn't freaking hot
yeah,
in their
definitely.
own way for
Or either they're freaking hot or they have a very sexy voice. Garrus.
right. I don't know. Garrett's had it going on. I am.
I've
I mean,
always, no matter what I do, whenever I'm femshep,
mm,
I always go for Garrus. I can't think of anyone else. Now, Liara I might have a toy around with, but it's always going to go to Garrus. But I always go. I always go from Liara, teasing Caden a little bit till he dies. Then it
right.
goes from, then of course everything kind of goes into Garrus, and then fully goes into Garrus. By the third game, I just feel like it's like a natural progression.
See, I was
Organic
on Team
relationship.
Thane in Mass 2, and so I felt kind of robbed
Oh yeah.
into.
Oh Lord. Have you ever played the Saint with the Sane mods? There's mods out there that
I
actually.
told about those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have heard about those, but
I would
yeah,
say I am so grateful there are mods that, and the fact that they went out of their way and recorded, even for like you would have Jennifer Hale doing the Tali shipping, dialogue. Of course, that's a case where that's just standard procedure, from what I understand. But the fact that you have fans have access and they added it in there, so I'm like, I want to do it run where I'm femshep getting together with Tali because I want to know what I'm missing out on.
yeah. I this is some the romances in video games are an interesting design problem.
Oh, very much so.
Because to me, you go back to the friendships and the romances and things. Even a game like Dragon Age Origins, where the graphics were not great. Every time
Right.
the characters smiled, they looked like they just sharted themselves, right? But you got very invested in those characters.
Oh yeah.
The storylines, the interpersonal storylines were so much deeper than even the original Mass Effect. There was almost not enough of that in the original Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But even the original Mass Effect, the friendships and the romances were so much more meaningful than you get to Dragon Age Inquisition, where it's just a game of match the plumbing.
Yeah.
Right?
And then it's evolved into games like Subverse, where it's all about like, oh, it's just sex scenes.
Okay, but that is what it is, right? Like that's the purpose of the
Now,
game.
I'll say this though, I will say Saints Row 4, I love how they make a gag out of it where you could just go to,
Well, that was
except for
parody, though.
Oh, I know, but that's what I love
yeah.
about it though. It's just like anytime you want, trigger the sex scene, but it's not really a sex scene, it's what leads into it.
I remember that game because I had played the crap out of Mass Effect, right? And when thanks, Bethlaria. I actually saved my game before I approached Johnny Gat. I was playing as a male leader of the Saints, the president in 4.
President,
and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go hit on Johnny Gat.
And it actually comes off like a good scene, actually.
Dude's probably gonna kill me, but we're gonna try it. So save game. Let's try it. And it's this passionate like embrace, and they're kissing, and I'm like, shit, man. Deep Silver made the most dangerous man in the universe a bisexual Asian dude. I am down with that.
Yep, but I love it. I love that's one of my favorite ones. It's like one of the ones where they're like, these guys have been around forever. Let's not make this a full gag. It's a gag to a degree, but
it's a detail, and that series gets no credit for anything they did that was really quite inclusive, right? And the
very
problem
much so.
is, well, because they didn't constantly look at how diverse we're being. I think that might have where I got the bad taste in my mouth for diverse, right?
Yeah.
Because the Saints Row games, at least 3 and 4, you could wear any item of clothing no matter what your anatomical body was, and your voice didn't have to match
Nope.
your anatomical body. So it was the first game I had ever played where you could meaningfully perform, you could meaningfully play as a non-cisgendered experience.
Yep. I
And
mean, come
again,
on.
the
Look
game,
at with like Kinsey for example. Just the type of character she was. I don't like how they always make
yeah, I
fun.
mean, her cakes had cakes, right?
Exactly. And I just always
Yeah.
love it. It's like she's all like, "Don't judge me." Like, don't. She said, and that's kind of like I've dealt with it all my life. Shut up. I don't care what you think.
But I mean, it's also a game series where Shandi grows the fuck up, man.
Now, they do it so drastically, I had to explain it by 4, which that's what I love best about.
Yeah.
That's what I love about 4, though. I love about 4 is they actually have it be where she's so cut herself off from her past self that she becomes a split character.
Yeah, but it made you realize, because I'd forgotten Fun Shandi, right?
Exactly.
They were different characters, but yeah, it makes sense. She suffered so much loss.
Oh,
She had
yeah.
been through so much. You can't be Fun Shandi for more than a couple years, or you overdose and get brain damage, right?
But you shouldn't cut yourself off from your past too, which is what she did. And I think that's their way of acknowledging why she felt like such a different character. She was like Shandi in name only by 3.
I thought it was it was a legitimately mature handling of the whole thing. And,
again, I agree.
There's an example of a cast reflects the sort of racial demographics of America, had North America, like Asian American characters in long before people started talking about why the Asian experience, the Asian American experience are, not the same experience. They had all this stuff, that they had a black vice president way back in the day. And this game franchise got no credit for it.
Yep, and now they feel like, I mean, I said this before in our last stream, I'll say it again. With the reboot, the moment I heard them say, we're going for millennials who are, a bunch of millennials who are broke, and who have student loan debt, and so they form a gang so they can pay it off, I'm like, you really think they're going to take that much effort that sounds like too much work for most millennials doing that. It's like, do you really know your audience you're trying to go for?
Bianca, are you a millennial? Sorry, I don't know how old you are.
Oh, I'm 25. I'm going to be 26 this year. I was born in 1995, so I was told that did research that's Gen Z.
Gen Z, but Bianca's in the target market.
Yep. Well,
maybe we should direct the question to her about this one.
Have you seen the Saints Row reboot trailer?
No.
Nope.
I never know any games coming out. I have to have people tell me, and then I watch it. Like, the only game I'm interested in right now is from my profile picture, the King of Fighters. Nice. That's what I'm going to get a PS5 for. It's for that one freaking game.
Oh, there'll be much more coming out for the PS5, though.
I know, I'm super
excited. How much of that's going to come to PC, then?
It seemed that was when Chrono Trigger was out, 95. 90 to 95 was a good era for gaming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay,
but
the point is, guys, Bianca is younger than us, so I don't like speaking for people. So when it's a question of what do millennials, the higher cohort of millennials is approaching 40. But I don't know, Bianca. I'm curious about your thoughts of this. The whole, the younger generation is ruining anything, or they don't know good stuff, or the fact that marketing companies are sort of blaming 20-somethings because they're too chicken shit to take artistic risks. What's your reaction to that? Right? Like, what's
I find it pretty funny because a lot of us tend to like nostalgia, so we tend to look at a lot of the older stuff and we like, oh, that's good, and then we see the newer stuff and they seem like they're trying, but we're like, yeah, but it's not as good as this thing from the older days. Like, we can see you're trying, but you're just not hitting the mark, kind of thing. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're trying too hard, or maybe they're thinking too much.
It's too focus grouped.
Yes.
Yeah. So what kind of older stuff, when you say nostalgia, King of Fighters has been around for a while, for sure. But
1995,
yeah, yeah,
1994.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I'm
remember those old like the games at that era when everything was being on CD now, and Tekken was cool, and Dead or Alive before it was all about bikinis. But so it's that kind of stuff that you're going back and playing that era.
Yeah, like, I think it also depends on, like, how you were raised, like, when I was raised, I had, like, I never bought my own game consoles, all the game consoles were, like, passed down to me,
Mhm,
so stuff like the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, somebody a cousin bought me the PlayStation 3, I always had a VHS, and then I had a VHS DVD combo. So, like, even the newer stuff, I still can't get. Like, I have to save up my money to
mhm.
get any one of those things. So, like, even I can tend to be pretty late. Like, I got this Nintendo Switch because my brother gave it to me.
Oh, sweet. There's a ton to play on the Switch, though. I don't think the Switch is going anywhere.
Yeah, I just bought a lot of dating sim games, and one of them happens to be a furry one.
Which one?
It's called The Winds of Change.
Okay.
It's mostly a graphic novel type, lots of dialogue on there. You can choose male or female, but
Mhm.
apparently everybody is romanceable, no matter which one you choose.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm impressed at some of the character depth in the Japanese smut games, or the dating sims and stuff like that. I'm sitting here going, I'm
I,
getting
I
into
just
this
jumped right
stuff.
back to dating
Yeah,
sims. Like,
welcome.
what
See, the dude leaves and the women start talking about smut. Right? Like that's just the way it rolls. Let's talk about it out here.
like what I miss? Huh? What?
Oh, we
But
were
I will say
talking.
that everybody is pretty different. Like people around my age, some of them tend to like the newer stuff coming out and don't have a problem with it. And so I'm like, okay, let's discuss about it. And so they're like, yeah, I agree with this. I disagree with this, that kind of stuff. But I found it sometimes just so weird. Like they find all these weird people. And I'm like, I think those are just online because I've met
Yeah,
people my generation, younger and older, and like we don't talk to each other that way. I've never met
Right.
somebody that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
People online are like, sorry, that's not my pronouns, and I've never met anybody in real life, younger or older, has ever said anything like that,
It's
you
the problem with
know?
social media. It's the whole notion of you give everyone a voice, and unfortunately, it's the loudest ones. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Old whatever phrase old phrase adage you want to use, and unfortunately, causes people to think they represent the majority when they never do.
I think
Exactly.
I think it's
I'm
more than
25,
that.
by the way. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
turn 26 this month.
Oh, happy birthday in advance.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience to Bianca. I do know people who use they them pronouns.
Hmm.
Uh so but large city Toronto,
Right.
there's a lot of that going on. But it isn't the raw attack when someone makes a mistake.
Right.
And that to me is the big difference between online and real life. And I think part
Hmm.
of it is with real life, there's tone, there's facial expression, there's body language.
Exactly. Exactly. I've always
You,
noticed that whenever. Sorry.
yeah, you know when somebody's just made a slip or made a mistake,
Yep.
and when they're being mean, right?
Exactly. It's like I always say this. When CG, whatever you want to call it, started out, and you had
Mhm.
some people who were saying like, "Oh, I'd be acting like this way to the pros." I'd be like, "No, you won't. And you're gonna be like everyone else." Unless you want to be that asshole who goes up to Rob Liefeld giving him a copy of How to Draw the Marble Way, which no one likes. Unless you're going to be that asshole, you're never going to do it because when you're in person, no matter who you're talking to, be it Richard Pace, be it Gail Simone, they're always going to come, unless they're in a bad mood, they're always going to come up as nice and polite to you. And then you're going to be like, am I going to be the asshole who's just going to tell them off to their face right now? No, there might be some people who are so wound up they will, but
I've seen people be complete dicks to Rob Liefeld to his face.
well, true.
It's bad. It's funny. After meeting Rob, I it changed the way I sort of viewed his art because he was
Oh, same here. Same
actually,
here.
yeah, he's actually, he was anyway. I mean, his social media presence is not how I remember him, right?
True, but it's
But
still better than some other people who are on social media, though. You gotta give him that.
I think some people struggle with text-based communications. Other people are better in text-based communications, but I mean, we're in the age of now the metaverse, right? Thanks to Facebook, and I'm like, oh my
Oh,
god.
brother.
I'm of the mind that socialization is socialization, and it is still the real world. You're just playing a video game in the real
Yeah.
world, right? Um, it
Some of that, yeah,
just
someone just asked, what's Rob Liefeld like? Well, again, depending on the day you meet him and everything, but for the most part, he could be a very nice, very energetic type of guy who, like,
he's a guy.
he loves comic books.
Yeah.
He might make some bad decisions, but he's always doing it with the best of intentions. He's not like, if you ever, it's like a guy who gets always writes and checks his ass can't cash, or will dive in without thinking about like basically jump in and then realize, oh man, I'm in too deep. And I can only dog paddle.
Yeah, I got talking to him totally by accident. I don't remember who else I was talking to at the time, but they were like one station down, two stations down, and we were talking about something I forget. It was a very anime conversation, and finally, someone sketching away looked up and went, "Thank you." I forget what the point was, and it was Rob Liefeld, and I'm like, "Okay, he's engaged me now. I'm gonna go talk to this dude." And he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
He really was. He wasn't that very proper, polite that you sometimes get at Comic Cons of I don't want to offend anybody because they could be my boss someday. There is some of that at Comic Cons. It wasn't that. He spoke his mind, but
Right.
he was a guy. And
Yeah.
and individual mileage may vary. I tend to like guys because I kind of am one, if you notice the way I talk. But yeah, he was always he's always been cool without seeming aloof, which
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know how I did 13 Comic Cons a summer back in the day.
Whoa.
Now, oh
Dang.
yeah, when I was big into the comic circuit, there were a lot of cons. I could do maybe
Wow.
3 now. They're exhausting.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, it's also when you're actually working and you're on deadlines. Those deadlines don't stop because you're doing Comic Cons.
Oh,
So,
how many times do you see comic pros who are still working on their stuff and all that stuff, but they have to keep it like, if someone walks up, they have to cover it. I'm like, "Oop."
well, they go back to their hotel room and write at the
That
end of the
too.
day. They'll write for 3 hours and then they'll go have a late dinner because they have to. They still have
Yeah.
deadlines. Some of them will draw out in public. I remember
Oh yeah, I've seen some who've done that. It's usually for projects that aren't secrets.
Gene Haw. That man.
Dean Ha, yeah.
Oh my, he's a 3D printer, man. I had never seen such precise line work in my life. I don't think I ever will see such
Oh, I've seen it.
the
I've seen.
first time. Astounding. Like you can't
Yeah.
teach that. Just
Oh, hey, it's all the
hand.
She-Hulk covers. Those are
Yeah.
just so good. God.
His line work's just astounding. What was that comic he did? Blanking on it.
What company? What company?
Shoot, I think it was a DC sub imprint. It was like an Alan Moore.
America's Best Comic.
Yes,
Top
it might have
10?
been
Top 10?
top 10. That was it. The art in that was freaking stellar.
Yep.
So good.
Yep. So hey, how about we talk some Masters of the Universe? That I know that's a topic Bianca can jump in on.
I'm sorry. I like listening.
It's okay. It's okay. I've done that
Okay,
too.
I'm gonna let Bianca talk more than me on this one because I admit this whole Masters Universe thing. I'm actually considering selling some of my He-Man toys because the love is just gone.
Oh, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Especially, you saw the trailer before we started. It looks
Right.
so But you have people going their way to saying, "Oh, it's bait. It's bait." I'm
Well,
like,
you know what?
what do you want? It's like I think I told you this before on offline, on in DMs. And I was like, what do these people want? Just nothing but episodes of He-Man, Skeletor beating each other up, and the whole Tila the Sorcerer is just a footnote, but it's all let's praise Adam.
Well, I gotta go grab another drink for my throat because I'm still struggling. But I want to hear, since Bianca was not on the planet when the 80s show is out, I am really curious to let her drive this conversation because I am curious about the other point of view. So I'm gonna run real fast. It's gonna be hilarious. I may trip on something, and you'll see that on camera. It'll be funny.
No.
But let me start, and I'll catch up. I'll be right back. Hang on.
All right. So, but yeah, with Beta, I mean, you've seen the trailer, right? I mean, you and I have talked about this a little bit before, but yeah, where do you stand on this whole? People are saying, like, you look at it, it looks amazing. It's a bit. We all predicted this is where they were going to go, right?
Except for the people who were too angry to see all of the foreshadowing and just said, "Oh no, this happened. It's gonna happen forever."
Yeah,
This thing,
Adam's going to. Yep, Adam's going to stay dead. Orko's going to stay dead.
Kira's gonna be a lesbian with Andrea.
Is she even in the trailer?
A little bit, tiny bit.
Yeah, a tiny bit, but it's just like she's not factoring much into it because she served her purpose as the character for the new people coming on. And people will be like, "Oh, it's all about Evelyn and Tila." Really? Skeletor is the big threat, not Evelyn.
Evelyn looks smoking hot. That's kind of my take.
In the Horcas sorcerer's outfit, yeah, they're probably never going to mention Horcas because it's too much like Hordak. But you know that's what they're going for is that outfit.
But I mean, it's Lena Headey's voice, and she looks smoking hot. I'm happy.
Exactly. How do you say this? This is probably one of your people, your regulars. How do you say their name? Eileen. Right. Yeah, I don't know what they want. I do not know what they want. You think with this trailer, they'd be like, okay, maybe we were wrong. No, they are so dead set against hating it that they are just going to keep on saying, Kevin lied, this is bait, this is all they're planning. It's like, oh, they're going to make He-Man a dumb brute. Probably because and the fact that he's able to change it without the sword, which is something right out of the so much of the stuff is out of the Rob David comics.
Okay, this is I've seen this in fandom before, though, right?
Oh, really?
We saw, yeah. I mean, comic books.
Oh, yeah.
It's
recently, yeah.
It's very hard to create exit ramps when opinions become identity, right?
Yeah.
People form same way, like, people felt good dumping on Rob Liefeld's admittedly very skewed Captain America chest and stuff. But that was what 12-year-old boys thought was cool back at the time. Why Storm had no ankles, I have no idea, but it's just because feet are hard to draw, right? But it's the same thing that I do think that a lot of people are coming into this from the 2002 series. Those tend to be the people that are...
And yet they claim they're from the 80s series. That's the thing that gets me. They claim they're from the 80s.
Memory is a funny thing. I mean, I know somebody who did watch with the 80s, and he watched, he was like, stop killing my heroes, please. He didn't have issues with Tila or anything like that. It was just stop killing my heroes. And I think that had they released the entire show at once, it would have gotten a very... Because people, as Kevin says in the comments, people don't remember how dark 80s cartoons were.
Oh yeah, Optimus Prime's death, and originally it was good. First it was Duke's death in G.I. Joe, which influenced Optimus, but
Duke's
because Transformers came out, I know, but then because Transformers came out first, Liana, you're gonna hear. I love this. You want to know what something that Bianca and I have been kind of hearing more lately that's really ridiculous? People are now starting saying, "Oh, things got woke in the mid '90s. They're trying to now say things were woke earlier in comics and only just got worse from then on." They're saying like the '90s, the '70s, the '80s. It's like,
it's
why are you retroactively saying everything's woke?
I was talking about this actually last night with a dear friend of mine who was actually a colorist during the Silver Age. So he was like one of
Hmm.
the young guys coming up, and like Ditko
Right.
and Ramita and Don Heck, was a friend of his, and Neil Adams and all that stuff. Um, and we were talking about the fact that back in the day, comic books, I mean, the X-Men was a couple of Jewish guys processing the civil rights movement,
Hmm.
right? I mean, Jack Kirby knew absolutely nothing about the Black Panthers when he
No.
named the character, which is says so much about Jack Kirby. But
Yeah.
Ditko got deep into objectivism. They're they always told stories about stuff that they cared
Why
about.
would you know?
And my friend made a very interesting observation to me.
Hmm.
He said that back then, the core of the story was villain does something bad or tries to do something bad. Hero goes to stop them, right?
Hmm.
Everything else you did in the book was in service to that. And you could do
Yeah.
detours and you could have those moments and you could
Oh
have
yeah.
the
In the
stay
end,
in school
yeah.
kid, I had an incident with a mixed pickle, wink. You could do all of that, but the thing that drove the story was villain tries to do something bad, hero stops them.
Oh, and that drives me nuts whenever you have people try to criticize comics by saying, "Oh, it's that." That's the point. What do you want it to be?
What he pointed out now though is that you have all this setup, like the movie structure now, because everybody wants to write something that becomes a TV show or a movie.
Hmm.
So you have all this time where the hero's not a superhero yet. It's an origin story,
Hmm.
and it's all this stuff. And he said that if you just start midpoint and then show how you got there, you have a very different reception than if it takes too long to get to the point. Like, can we please
Uh,
see them in the suit soon?
yeah.
Thanks. Right. And I thought that was a really interesting observation that it's
Yeah.
it's a structural issue.
Hmm.
It's not um and again, everybody has their sort of era in comics,
Hmm.
and as Eileen's pointing out, there are uh generational divides. I
Hmm.
mean, a lot of the female characters, Wonder Woman was an incredibly woke character,
Yeah.
right? Like Wonder
Oh, good
Woman was
God!
a
People know exactly how Diana used to be. Like it's like she would, and one of her weaknesses was she would lose her powers if she was ever bound by a man.
but Wonder Woman was basically a treatise on why women should rule the world. William Moulton Marston actually thought women were superior. Now, fact, he was in a polyamorous relationship with two women.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it is partially structural how stories are told now, and it is partially
Now some people rush
stylistic.
them. Sorry,
Well,
I was saying.
it's partially stylistic of
Hmm.
the action stops to have this sort of speech, right?
Hmm.
And I think part of it is just if every non-white male property was as good as Shang-Chi or as good as Black Panther, there wouldn't be the same defensiveness.
Hmm.
Um Whereas, what I remember seeing Shang-Chi this summer, and halfway through going, I'm not angry at this movie yet. This is
I
so
wasn't either.
strange. I'm
I
not
wasn't.
angry. I'm
I
not
was.
angry.
I wasn't angry either when I went to go see it. And I'll be honest, I have no interest in seeing Eternals, not because of the topic, but because I look at them like, why should I be
Okay,
interested?
it's lower rated than Thor Dark World, and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, and so Dark World is my bottom of the barrel. That is my lowest of the low. And I wanted to like it, but it was so damn boring.
and
I still
dark.
haven't seen Shang-Chi.
Yep.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's one of the fun movies. That's the funny thing.
I
Yeah.
don't
Marvel
have
does
time to
fun
go
movies.
because
Oh,
when I watched Marvel movies, I watched them with my father, but
ah,
like
Oh,
I
okay.
don't live with my father, so like we have to go like pick him up and pick a date and everything. But now that he has two jobs, it's kind of harder
oh,
since he's working day and night, and then all
yeah.
of us are work whether day or just night. Oh, I forgot. I also told my father of the new He-Man series since he watched the 80s.
Hmm.
And so
Yep.
because he had COVID, we couldn't watch it together. So I would constantly call him like, "Hey, what episode are you on? What did you think about it?" And so
At
he
least
was
he's
like,
taking time to watch it.
he did, yeah. He was like, "Oh man, I really liked it." And I'm like, "Are you hyped for the part 2?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm really hyped for the part 2. I just don't like how they stabbed him. That's the only thing I don't like." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you know he's not gonna die, right?" He's like, "Of
Right.
course I know he's not gonna die.
Right.
It's a cartoon." And that's what he
Right.
told me. And I'm like, "Exactly, it's a cartoon."
Yeah.
Exactly, and yet remember everyone's like, "Oh, he's dead, he's dead." They're gonna make Tila she. And the funny thing is, I still remember when you were both heard me say this. When was I always saying she's going to embrace her sorceress side?
Oh,
She's
we were
not going.
all,
I
yeah.
know. Like the first time I had you on, I kept telling you that
Yep.
it's like she's going to embrace her sorceress side. She's not going to become she-man and all that.
That was
And
all so dumb.
and you
But
would
they
think you think that line
again
of
though,
yeah.
we have to stop this ridiculous fighting. We have to construct an exit ramp for the
Mm-hmm.
people
They want on, but I feel like these
who
people don't want off though. That's the thing. They don't want to go on the exit ramp.
Wasn't
well
there a prediction that some fans were making that Andrea was going to be the next
mhm.
quote unquote He-Man or the
And yet
She-Man or something
and
like
Yes.
yet you
that?
have that line of saying, "I am the conduit to the power." Yeah, that means Adam, no one else. It can't. They can't just pass it on to anyone
I
else.
I still think they're setting up Andra to be the new man at arms, not
I agree.
anything else. She
Oh,
has the
That makes
all
more
same
that
skill
stuff,
set
sense.
as Duncan.
all that stuff in the trailer sets up that they're going to probably do the set. I have a feeling they're going to do what again Eternity War did. Rob Davis involved with it. It's so much of his Eternity War stuff. I bet you something's going to happen to Tila, and Man at Arms are going to reveal, like he said before, I might not know magic, but I know at least a few things, and he sacrifices his life to help her.
So, yeah, I think Duncan and Tilana are going to end up in Pre-Eternia, and they can
Yep.
finally be together,
Oh,
right?
because I
Like,
always wanted those two together, even
yeah, and they can't be in that
because of
world.
her
They kind of
position.
set that up. So
And Leo, Yellow Spider Man, no, Andra is not. Seriously, tell me, how can she be when it's very clear? They stated right in the trailer Adam is the source of the power. The sword is just a conduit.
I just want to know how in that trailer, like Super Hulk He-Man's loincloth stays down when he's jumping at people, man.
I'm surprised
Like,
there's still. But you know, that looks like King
was
Great. He looks like the 2000s King Grayskull.
yeah, but like, does the carpet not match the drapes? Does like his ball hair just into those furry shorts? So he's actually flashing us, and we just don't know. Like, if we're gonna micro analyze this
And this is
whole
Kevin Smith we're
freaking,
talking about here. You know he's probably brought it
it
up.
is. I mean,
You know he
it is.
probably asked. You know
It
he
is.
probably asked when they were designing it.
And this is where I go. I'm like, Evelyn's freaking smoking hot, and is that furry shorts or is that ass hair? I need to know.
Now, here's a question I ask: which do you prefer, and which traits do you prefer with Evelyn? White, green skin and white hair, normal skin and whatever type of hair. You know, like some people get her dark hair. I always prefer the slightly greenish and white hair.
I'm torn. I'm torn on that. I like the white hair.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I mean, okay, the original Evelyn toy was like jaundiced.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of amazing to me how the voice work on that character like really overcame because I did the Chitara cosplay. Like I went and actually studied the color palettes they used on those old cartoons because those things ran on 4:3 aspect ratio cathode
Mm-hmm.
ray tube TVs, right? And so the colors were like various drunk puke shades that do not translate to real world very well at all. And so to me, the mastery of the whole thing was they actually made these puke yellow skin tone characters even remotely compelling. It is kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I'm
this one.
glad the chat just all about the loincloth now.
I
My
mean,
work here is
it's
done.
not with tape. Like it's got to be like his big butt who holds it in. The
Oh,
Hey,
loincloth.
oh,
he's got like a wedgie, like an atomic wedgie, just holding the loincloth in place.
I was trying to get. I had a good shot of your yeah, picture of yours, but I can't.
Actually,
But it didn't. It was too small.
you know what, Bianca? That'll work because that's a Kevin Smith. He like self stink palms. And so like the loincloth gets stuck in his ass crack, and then at like one point he just whips it off and like stuffs it in Skeletor's face, and he like stink palm loincloths Skeletor like in Mallrats, like and like a pretzel flies out, the chocolate pretzel just sort of as an homage. Like it could happen.
It could happen. So I was trying to find one of the images of your cosplay as Chitara, but it's some of the ones I kept finding. Like this one of you. Do you see it in the preview on the left?
I don't see it.
You
You,
stopped sharing the screen.
oh! I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys can see it on the left side. I don't know if you guys can see it on the left.
Nope.
No.
Is this one of you?
Yeah, that's me.
Yep.
How'd you
Yeah.
do the hair?
That is 3 wigs. Well, that's my natural hair in the middle. And then
I
it's
see it.
2 other wigs. It's a blonde wig and then kind of an in between light light red woven together. Because again, the hair color in the actual cartoon was yellow, like emoji yellow. It looked awful. And so then there was sort of a seam. Uh, and so I stuck those sort of pheasant feathers, and then it's little fishing line and bits of feather tied in to the wig to have the dots because I wanted to go sort of because she had those powers. I wanted to go kind of shamanistic with it. This was a real makeup and hair design challenge because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, the original was kind of ugly AF, and I actually uh looked at some of the things Udon Studios did with their Thundercats art, giving her more flowing hair
Mm-hmm.
and making the makeup really organic. But there's a lot of shading on that orange because again, if you just do flat orange, it looks weird. And
I'm looking at other cosplayers, and they all just have go just right for blonde hair. It's
see what
like,
I mean? And it
yeah,
just doesn't look the same. You have to adapt when you put it on a body, right?
yeah.
That's the one thing I will say about the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Their costume design is ungodly good. They had an exhibit down at Yorkdale here, and they had a bunch of the costumes, and I just if I could have licked the Black Panther costume, I would. And some of the, not for sexual reasons, because it was just such a work of art. There are details they put into those things that aren't you'd never see on screen because the level of detail is just not
All right.
there. But the actors know. Um, and then to look at the the Thor and Loki costumes, and I actually did this in my Nerd Music Nation episode. I showed people that, and you can't see it on camera, you can only see it in person. uh Thor's lines are all like straight up and down, like they are smooth. The fabric gathering on
Mm-hmm.
the cloak and the texture of the cloak, it was like, oh my god, this fabric,
Oh
it's
yeah.
similar. That's dress weight suede. It's not spandex. It's the same on Thor's cloak, and I'm just, oh, how it catches the light. And I'm the only woman who prefers Thor with his clothes on, I guess. But then you move over to Loki's costume, and there is not poor guy. There is not a straight seam on that costume anywhere. Everything's a diagonal, but it's disjointed. So they've deliberately done what you pay $10,000 for a handbag to not have, like it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see on screen. You see the diagonal
Right.
lines, yes, but the mismatching.
Is there
I'm
any
like,
reason why they've kind of trimmed back on it, whatever his full costume in the movies?
I
You
think
know how
it's
it's more like it's just like he
trend.
just keeps it to the horn, helmet, and maybe a few other things, but for the most part,
Okay,
he-
that helmets are really hard to wear.
oh, I bet. No, I know. I'm just saying that.
And
But I'm just saying when you compare look how he was initially, and then look how he is later on. They made it more casual as it went on.
I think they're also trying to visually bust the character down a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of pegs for various reasons.
Sometimes they make a cosplayer happy. Have you noticed they've been doing that more when it comes to designing characters? How can we make this cosplay happy? Like the recent Doctor, in Doctor Who, that was one of the first things they asked was, how do we make a cosplay happy?
That's a serious consideration though for male cosplayers that I give them credit for. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there are many pictures of me on the internet with my ass hanging out in various configurations, and then I turn around and it's a match set on my chest. Guys can't do that the same way.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Anything that's a structured suit makes it a lot easier for guys to, I think, feel good
Mm-hmm.
in that cosplay. I mean, the gender performance is so totally different. I've done some
Mm-hmm.
cosplay, so um, the gender performance is very different. I mean, cosplaying as Kratos and having to deal with that
Mm-hmm.
problem of he has no shirt, right? Is very different than something like the Mad Hatter, which is a suit.
Mm-hmm.
The energy just feels totally different, and so
Hamina
um
says the Princess Leia cosplay. Well,
and so
depends.
again, that
Well, it
so
depends. Well, it depends, of course, which one.
well, I have the Leia bikini.
Right, right. I've seen.
um
I saw that image while I was doing the Google search.
Yeah, maybe that was the reason why I'm so interested in He-Man's loincloth, because I had to sew underwear into that thing, and that was an engineering challenge. But no, man, people tape that to their butts. You hit one draft, and it's Marilyn Monroe, and over that subway grate. Those costumes, and they did tend to break, so I like reinforced all of it as well. I had my one chainmail bikini experience, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting the energy that different cosplays have, and the Loki stuff is the original stuff. They changed that character from Mr. Broadshoulder because they wanted Thor to look like all ripped, right? And they went kind of Shakespearean villain with Loki, and it just that helmet's heavy and it's awkward,
Oh
and
yeah.
walking around with that all day, there's no way to have something sticking out up to here. The Maleficent headpiece is the same problem when it's anchored
Mm-hmm.
to your head. That's a lot on your neck, and it can cause damage over time. So I think that's part of it. I also think that, yeah, it's just a guy can get a jumpsuit and write variant on the back of it and have
But
like a great
sometimes it's
shoulder
also if you're
time.
trying to match the body build. It's part of the reason why so many people like Fat Sork and how many people go to the cons that are on the bigger side that don't want to
Yeah,
do Penguin.
I mean, he's still pretty fit,
Oh no, I know.
Tom
I'm just saying. No,
Hiddleston,
how
but
many times have you seen some
The
people who are
penguin?
like,
oh, sorry, Tom Hiddleston. He's
Oh,
oh no,
still pretty fit.
sorry.
He's not super bulky, but I mean
Right.
that's why I like the Superman muscle suit in Lois and Clark too, is because it's but
But hey, can we get back to B on this topic? Asking her what. So, but yeah, so is B though, Bianca, with
yep,
the
yep.
He-Man stuff though. Again, where are you standing when you see all of this? These people making those statements like they're assuming it's going to be a repeat of part one. He-Man's only in it for a few episodes. It's just going to be the Tila show.
I do think that they're going to do both. One segment focuses on He-Man, one focuses on Tila, and well, one focuses on He-Man and Skeletor, the other one focuses on Evelyn
mhm,
and Tila. Like they're both going to have
Exactly.
like their own whatever. It's going to be 5 episodes, right?
mhm.
Yep. Another
Another 5
5.
episodes. So like there could be like maybe He-Man and Skeletor will have 2 or 3 episodes, or and Tila and Evelyn will have the 2 or 3 episodes, or they're gonna do that thing where they do both of them, but just like do that multiple cuts thing that they did,
Yeah, like when
and
they were in the
and
what was it called again? The underworld
yeah,
Pre-Eternia or the Fright Zone?
Fright Zone. The Fright
Fright
Zone.
Zone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they were down. Because they were down there. Because you focus on Evelyn Orko, who not dead.
Well, scarf! Yay!
Oh, and
Yep.
of course we're gonna have an episode on Orko. Like, who knows? Maybe he'll take he'll be the very ending of the episode, or maybe the second to last ending
Well,
for the quote unquote big fight.
But
But I
again,
think
the fact that
yeah,
everyone just took everything Kevin said at face value. Why is it with these people when they want it just so they can have something to be outraged about? They take what someone says that's clearly meant to hype things up at face value and saying it's the truth. It's the truth.
Okay, I talk to people about this a lot, and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to attempt to explain what they told me,
Mm-hmm.
even though I don't entirely understand it.
All right.
They felt like basically what I understand is they don't see anything somebody with like an executive producer credit on a show says as off the cuff. They believe everything is very crafted
Oh,
and approved and spin doctored. If you've ever met Kevin Smith, you know he's not capable of that
yeah.
kind of. He's a
All the
lovely
stuff he
guy.
said leading up to it or after the release of it proves it.
He smoked a lot of weed, man. He can't. But
it's finally taking its toll.
he's like,
I,
well,
I blame Seth Rogen. He's the one who got him started on that shit.
just
Oh
While
my
doing,
Kevin,
yeah.
gosh.
Kevin
No, I'm
Smith,
not kidding. You do know
lovely,
that, right,
lovely
Liana? You do
man.
know that, right? You do know.
Yeah, I
I
heard
didn't.
that, and
Yeah. There was all when they were doing Zach and Miri make a porno. That's when he met him, and he got him hooked, and it hasn't turned back.
which is kind of sad after all the stuff with Muse. But I've been a Kevin Smith fan for a
Oh
while.
yeah.
I've met him in a bunch of cons. I don't think he'd recognize me because I was in a different mask every
Mm-hmm.
single time. And one time I brought him up on stage for DC panel, and I was in a Batwoman costume. I think he was more excited to be with Batwoman than I was to be with Kevin Smith. That's him. Um, he is a legitimate fan, and I think that is part of the conflict here. Is
Yeah.
that people are expecting a level of polish from him because of his role in it that just isn't there. He's a different type of fanboy
Mm-hmm.
than the type of fanboys that he's clashing with.
Oh yeah.
And it's a similar issue when if you look at like the Gina Carano cancellation. I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people thought because she was like a muscular, non-conforming woman that she was going to be super down with trans stuff, and she was a mixed martial arts fighter. She got hit in the head for a living. They don't
Mm-hmm.
tend to be, and I think because people thought she was theirs, the same way they thought Kevin Smith was one of theirs, the
Mm-hmm.
betrayal when they disappoint them is so much to the point that it just kind of takes on a life of its own.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then they start to feel like again they want to find every little thing to nitpick, but then they turn it to 11 every time instead of just simply saying, "Oh, he exaggerated. He was being hyperbolic." Like, no,
Yeah.
he lied. He lied.
Yeah,
Liar.
well, okay, I've got people right now while I'm trying to promote the Song of Sparkle Muffin game
Mm-hmm.
getting posts supportive of the game, nuked on Reddit, like downvoted on Reddit because of a completely made up story about something I did not say about Count Dankula.
Oh
When the whole
brother.
Nazi pug thing happened, and they took what I said about Count Dankula at the time was that my prediction is he would not go to jail,
Mm-hmm.
that he would get a fine, that jail time is the maximum sentence, that he would likely just get fined and spend not a day in jail. That was my prediction. What I
Mm-hmm.
pointed out, though, is that if you knowingly break the law in a country, whether you agree with it or not, you have to
Mm-hmm.
be prepared to do the punishment that breaking the law does. And so they interpreted that as me saying Donkula deserved to go to jail. And to this day, they are hounding me, trying to get my stuff shut down. It's just, I mean, that's a form of cancel culture.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what I find so ridiculous about people who are screaming about woke on one
Mm-hmm.
hand, and then screaming about cancel culture on the other. If you're bombarding a guy with angries because you don't like a cartoon, I'm sorry you're a participant in that culture.
Exactly. And especially when they get to the point where they kind of show where they stand on their fanboyishness, especially when you have someone like you or me who point out with evidence how things can play out. Like I would always say, Rob David has shown he knows what he's talking about. And I would show off the comics. I would say, look, there's parallels here and there with based off of what little we have. No, it's clearly going to be this. It's clearly going to be that. It's like, how do you know? Are you actually a fly on the wall there? No, but that leak has been proven more debunked than anything.
Oh, you're talking about that one stream that said
Mm,
Kilo is going to be a lesbian and
mm.
all that stuff.
And of course we've been over this before again. When it's like they kept saying she's gonna be a lesbian, she's gonna be a lesbian. That's what they mean by the girlfriend. And then it comes out, they then backpedal and they act like they never said it. Like, oh no, we didn't mean that. We meant we always meant girlfriends and friend that's a girl. It's like, no, you didn't. Stop it.
Okay. Okay, I had this explained to me too, though, and I do sort of sympathize with this because
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how not to be an asshole about things I really love.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I've decided I'm going to buy a game, I try not to watch trailers of the game
Right.
because
Same.
there were games, there are movies, so many movies, especially superhero stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I am too close to something, I am going to be an asshole
Oh.
about it, right? Because Kevin, I'm with you on that was my line. I was like, just don't call him a liar. Any other
Mm-hmm.
criticism is fine. Don't call him a liar. People didn't respect that. Um, but I'm trying to think of things back in the. I am very close to the comic book stuff because
Mm-hmm.
I'm that. It was a lifeline for me as a kid. Um, I got really bothered by X-Men 2.
Oh, yep, with Lady Deathstrike and
Yeah,
Mystique.
because Mystique was mute, and then Lady Deathstrike was mute, and Lady Deathstrike I thought was one of the coolest designs of that era in comics, and everybody was just in a black leather suit,
And
right?
now I
And
understand giving her the extended fingernails. I actually did not mind that because it ties
sure,
back to Wolverine. And
Wait,
come
are
on,
we talking about the older X-Men
yes, the
movies?
older ones,
1990, 1990s too?
yeah,
Something like that?
992. It
I
was.
I acknowledge that Wolverine Deathstrike fight at
Oh,
the end of the movie was brilliantly choreographed.
It was
mhm.
amazing.
And Kelly Hugh, incredible.
Yeah,
That
yep.
yeah.
But I couldn't go there.
They
You
couldn't
know,
write her
the,
a bit of dialogue. They couldn't give her even a line. That's why I always
well,
chuckle in the commentary when it's like, "Oh, for all she knows, she could have been. It wasn't her fault. For all she knows, she could have been a
okay,
housewife." And I'm like,
Brian
"Oh, shut
Singer
up!" And I'm just like, "Oh, shut up."
Brian Singer was another open Hollywood secret up there with Spacey and Whedon. So I
Hmm.
mean, but
But
that
when he said
movie
that, though, I'm just like, "Shut up."
but I was just so bummed after that movie, right? That I'm like, I gotta find a way to either enjoy this stuff or stop watching it. And I still get dragged to movies that I know I shouldn't see. Sucker Punch was one of them. I actually, when I watched Sucker
Oh.
Punch, I was there with my friends. I actually had to go out and yell in a parking lot about that movie. That movie.
And talk about a case where the extended edition makes it worse.
Saw
Oh,
it at
I
my
wouldn't
aunt's
believe
house.
it. Ew.
What did
Oh,
you
thank you
think?
for
What did you think?
everybody correcting me in the chat that it was 2000 and 1990s. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but
I
what
get
did
my
you think?
dates
What did
mixed
you
up.
think of Sucker Punch B?
I was like in middle school or something when that was out.
Ooh.
Wait, what year was it out? Just in case. does, does anybody know what year it was out? It was like
uh,
2005
I'm
I
looking.
or something.
2011, 2011,
2000. Yeah,
2011,
okay.
2011.
2011. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
25. I was 15, so I was in high school, just starting high school. So I looked at that, and after the movie finished, I went, to my cousin, and I'm like, "What the heck did I just watch? What
Exactly.
is that?" And he was like, "It's so weird. It's like you can tell that they like like Zack Snyder. He like
Yeah.
felt like something towards it. Like you can
Right.
definitely tell like this is a project that he put his heart and soul into it. And I'm like, but
Ugh.
this is just not good."
Dedicated to his mother.
Ugh.
What?
And again,
Yeah.
when you see the extended edition with that original the original ending, what?
No, the whole thing was just. But that's the thing. I have to figure out how I'm going to enjoy these things, especially when people make. Because, like, I write stuff, right? I write
Hmm.
stuff in this genre. And so, when you're in these meetings and you work so hard and then you see creative decisions that you just completely do not agree with, you're like, no, you are breaking the character.
Bobby being made gay.
What's that?
Bob Iceman being made gay.
I the
No, the
one
way I
that
mean the way it was done.
yeah, I mean the one that Eileen knows that makes me really angry is making the Loki from the Gwyneth Branagh Thor film a misogynist. Mama's
What
boy
the
issues
hell
with his
was?
daddy. His big fall moment is disapproval from his father, and he becomes Norse Hitler misogynist.
And yet,
Right.
then they had to redeem them by revealing, oh, he loved his mom.
So why are you dropping misogynistic slurs at women? Like
Now
I
was he
it was
now was he
that
just trying to
that's
get a rise out of Black Widow? Was he just
no,
trying?
that's Joss Whedon having no concept of character voice. That's Ken
Eileen,
Crow's quote.
Eileen, the issue was more about how it was done and how it disregards so much of the character's continuity,
Okay,
especially when the fact when it was originally done, it was done to younger Bobby
can
from
I
and then
can
they
I
were going,
drop a hot take
yep,
about the whole character coming out as gay thing?
go right ahead.
Yes.
Here we go. This is going to be spicy.
Oh boy,
Uh because straight male comic readers tend to identify with these characters, and
I know where you're going.
because there is still an additional charge. Let's face it, there's, as I do in boss fight, WSCMs, white straight cisgender men, and then there's everybody else. Whenever something, Tim Drake comes out or John Kent comes out or Iceman comes out, right? The only group that has something taken from them is the WSCM contingent. And so I try to be sympathetic when a guy is not okay with that. Because meanwhile I've got gay friends who are like, yeah, right.
Right.
The, the Tim Drake jokes were legion coming out
Yeah.
of
Oh
me.
yeah. Oh, no kidding. Especially during that graduation day where you have him and Connor literally in the closet, and Connor's putting his pants back on. It's like,
But that's why people were like, they were coding that character long before. I mean, okay, granted, there are other panels in Marvel comics where it's Cyclops and Wolverine, and they're
mm,
getting out of the shower talking about the bullet fragments in Logan's ass.
right. But was
Totally
Bobby?
hetero right there, man.
But was Bobby? You know what it all boiled down to? Oh, he was the only boy who didn't find Jean hot in the first X-Men. When it's like he was the youngest.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right?
No, but I'm saying no.
People,
I'm not kidding. That is what a lot of some of the creators boiled it down to. He
right.
didn't find Jean hot in the original stories, so he must have been gay. It's like,
I've
what?
been hearing some
Wait,
things saying that the original creators of Bobby, or maybe not the original, but like whoever was doing a story, maybe Claremont, I don't know, that there was a thing where they did always wanted him to be
yeah,
gay or
that's very possible.
bisexual, but
They couldn't do
no,
it.
obviously, yeah, but
Yeah.
Bendis did it, but he just didn't do it very well.
Yeah,
And
he
that's
did.
Bendis. That's all.
I know,
Bendis
just
did
like,
it.
just that look.
Yeah, I just don't like that Bendis gets credit for things like Miles Morales, because it took 10 years of other authors fixing Miles Morales before.
Same was Morrison and Damien. Same was Morrison.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair here. It was a group effort, but I don't know. I get why there's always somebody when they a character comes out. You have to remember, if you're a straight person, you can't really grasp coming out. And I get I'm outing myself a little bit here right now by explaining this. Like I do
Go
this
right
in
ahead.
reviews
I'll go right
all the
ahead.
time. So it was funny because there was a staff meeting a couple weeks ago, and some sweet little thing said, "Hey, Liana, you're the only straight person here," and I'm like, "Oh, honey," but um, the process of coming out is something that straight people cannot get, and so there is this disconnect with the he was always gay. um and sometimes it's totally not cool, right? Like when North Star had AIDS, and then he had an elf disease, and that was bad. Okay, I think we can all kind of agree that was bad.
Yep.
But
Do you remember when the second Speedy, what was her name? The girl Speedy, from Green Arrow.
yeah,
And eventually Judd Winnick had to be. She had a AIDS or something, and it was
right,
like,
right.
Oh my gosh.
It was the Rent era in comics. AIDS. We all
oh
have
yeah, but
AIDS,
then they didn't do much
right?
with it. They have AIDS.
They
Now in his
they
Green Lantern stuff, he did
they
something with it.
yeah, they bailed out of it. But what it is, I mean, people who come out as gay, they have spent years playing straight, right? Um, and so the reasons that straight people are like, yeah, yeah, but it was like this in the past, people who are not straight are like, yeah, none of that negates somebody coming out. Plenty of people do that stuff, trying to fit it. And yeah, some people do they don't just come out of the closet. They come out of the closet, run down the hall, and jump into the master bedroom and jump on the bed, right? Like some people do just go from. I
Uh,
worked with guys who went from like engaged to a woman to like drag shows in pink hot pants in about 3 months. And it does happen sometimes, and this is
Yeah,
why
but when it's coming to doing it with a character that's been long loved, long beloved, and then you totally just change the character to the point where it's unrecognizable.
and,
That's the case where it might happen in real life, but you gotta tread carefully. Otherwise, you're saying more like "screw you." This is the new norm.
and this is where the disconnect happens, because straight point of view is you've changed the character. LGBTQ point of view, nah, wasn't changed, just came out. There's no right or wrong answer there,
Oh yeah,
and
and I
that,
will agree
yeah,
with that. I will
yeah,
agree with
and
that, and I will also agree that here's where I was to stand. I look at it like, here's my stand. When you have a lot of these people who speak out, you gotta look more at the people who it does connect to. Those are the people who don't usually speak out. This is
mhm.
unfortunately those are the ones, and not all of them, but a good number of the ones that do speak out are the ones that are the really extreme ones, the ones who kind of have the hot takes, or even to the ones who started to who are like, let's make everyone gay now. It's like, okay, let's not go that far.
See, this is
I know.
why I
I'm saying
think,
I'm just saying they're the
yeah,
more vocal ones, and unfortunately, then all the people who are good natured, legitimate, liking this, wanting this, get lumped in with them.
this is why I think, and this is going to sound really funny because poor Bianca has not been able to get a word in edgewise. But this is why I think the discourse, I sound so proofy saying the term discourse, but it's the one. Discourse. In about all this nerd stuff has become so counterproductive. It's actually making things worse instead of facilitating conversation, because right now, we're having a good conversation about this, because it's not
Mm-hmm.
you're wrong. I'm
Yeah,
saying, I'm like, there is a disconnect in perspective here,
well,
and
I
no
agree.
one's wrong, but let's start listening to the different perspectives. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that if everything, because it's comic books, and because we come by this honestly, who would win, Thor or Hulk?
Depends on whose book.
People,
Depends on whose book and the name is on the
right?
title.
These debates have been
Hey,
going on since comics existed, right? It's almost metastasized There
Hmm.
must be an answer. There must be the winner takes it all. Oh, I sang on a stream. Take a shot. And yes, the idea of, oh, we can't create a Wolverine for somebody who isn't a white man or woman in a comic book anymore. You must replace Wolverine and make X-23 because
Uh,
Wolverine debuted in a Hulk book, right? Um,
Technically, a Hulk 180, not 181.
that's correct.
Technically,
That is correct.
I
So,
loved Roy Thomas putting that, basically making it clear.
and Eileen says, how do we do this,
Well, yeah.
right? Now, in fairness, the white characters, with notable exceptions, they're taking stories for Disney Plus series and movies now from like 1969.
Or even the 70s, like the Winter Soldier and Falcon. That was
Yeah,
pretty much the captain.
right. They're pulling from decades old story arcs. So yeah, these characters have had decades to bake, right?
Oh, Mia
Okay,
was the name of the Speedy. Mia was the name of the
yeah,
Speedy.
Mia was the name of the Speedy. We're getting kind of a riff on Spider-Man One More Day
Mm-hmm.
in the Doctor Strange Spider-Man thing, which has me a bit scared. Has me a bit
Mm.
scared, not gonna lie. But
Oh,
we're
yep, yep.
starting to catch up. But even WandaVision was a mashup of those 60s through
There's this,
the
the
67 through
The
73
Englehart
run,
stuff.
right? And then
With the
House of
burn
M.
stuff. With the burn stuff
Yeah,
that
with
totally
House of
different.
M.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with House of
like
M.
it was a weird combo, but Agatha Harkness is getting her own series, so I'm happy.
Yep. Oh, by the way, funny you mentioned One More Day, because I had Ian Bianca on another stream before, and
Mhm.
you know what I showed Ian? Do you remember the old Superman 2000 pitch that Grant Morrison, Mark Millar, and Mark Waid and Tom Pryor tried to do while
Uh-huh.
Mike Carlin was gone? And I kind of realized this would have been Superman's One More Day.
Uh-huh.
And Ian was pissed, of course,
Well,
about that. But
could you imagine if they try to
I
adapt
finally
that?
read it. I
yeah,
finally
isn't
finished
it
it.
horrible? Isn't it horrible?
It's so weird because I started reading from the top and I'm like, okay. I'm like, wait, how is this bad? And then I started reading what they actually wanted to
Once you got
do.
to the lowest stuff, then you
And I'm just
realize.
like, how does this correlate with what you guys were talking
Right.
about? This doesn't make any sense
All
at
because
all. What did you do?
it's first telling, showing how much they love Superman, and it starts becoming of, I want this back. I want to get rid of the love triangle and make sure it never comes back. That was pure Wade. That was pure Mark Wade, because he hates them being married. He wants to keep that love triangle permanent.
And I like Mark Waid. He's wrong on that.
Oh yeah,
He's
I
so
agree.
wrong on that. Superman and Lois, Wonder Woman and Superman.
Hey, he was able to come around on Lex being a businessman, but why can't he ever come around with Superman and Lois being married? Why is it about that love triangle? I'm sorry, that's good for a temporary amount of time. You can never do that forever without it making, like Lois Lane. How dumb was she?
Yeah, I mean, I'll refrain from making some personal commentary on that one. There is an issue in comic books writing where it's hard for some creators to write ongoing stable relationships because their personal lives are,
Spider-Man and Mary Jane, that was notorious.
Archie
yeah,
Comics.
it's a combination of the creators not having great personal lives, but also it being editors. Every so often, like the comic book readership ages up a bit, and then they want to reset it, and they keep wanting
Hmm.
teenagers, and it's like, no, wrong. In order to get somebody reading Western comics, you have to get them when they're like 6. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, you have to get them reading these characters when they learn to read, because by the
but you
time
also
they
don't
get a
want to
hold
just
of anime, I'm sorry, you've lost them.
exactly. And
So
that, but at the same time,
It's
though,
I
you don't want to
could.
just. I'm sorry. Yep.
For me, it was actually the opposite. So I've since I'm a '90s kid, I've
mhm,
obviously have been watching anime on like Cartoon Network.
right.
Ever since I was a kid. And then in middle school, 8th grade, I had a friend, really, really tall. She had like her great grandmother or something was like Japanese, but her and her mother was black, and she started telling me that what I was watching was anime, and then
Mhm.
started to tell me more about it. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, it's anime. It's from Japan. It's a cartoon from
Mhm.
Japan. And she's like, yeah, and it's also in Japanese. And I was like, it's
Mhm.
in Japanese. And she's like, yeah, go to these websites. Just here are the websites. You can watch whatever you want. And I'm like, okay. And then later, then I started reading manga. But despite that, I was also watching DC cartoons
Mhm.
and the animated movies also during that time. And then I said, well, I'm watching anime, I'm reading manga, I'm reading webtoons. Uh, why maybe I could get into comics.
Mhm.
But of course, I feel like I was overthinking it a bit. I watched a channel called It's Super Effective, and he was like, "Hey, She-Hulk, you want to know a comic that's like not really it's not really talked about because of the terrible art? She-Hulk by Charles Soule." And I went,
Mhm.
"Okay." So that was my not my official uh first comic, but my comic first time getting comic series like in
Mhm.
full. When I first
Mhm.
visited a comic book store in high school, I got a random Wonder Woman comic, not realizing that, there's whole issues and
Right.
issues that were chapters, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I got it because the cover looked cool."
Right.
And
Mhm.
so I started delving more into that. Like when I watched the cartoons, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I love Batman. Oh my gosh, I love Wonder Woman.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I love them both together."
Right.
And then
Mhm.
when I got older in 2017, Rebirth is when I started getting into
Perfect.
comics.
Perfect
Oh
timing.
wow, yeah, interesting jumping on point.
And so during that
Better
time, I
than New
went, "Oh."
52.
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so during that time, I went, "Oh, my favorite is not Batman. My
Right.
favorite is Nightwing." And then I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, my favorite is not Wonder Woman. My favorite is Vixen and Black Canary." And then other stuff like Blue Beetle, Jaime. And I'm like, "Oh my
Yep.
gosh, he's Mexican."
Yep.
And then Jessica Cruz came along as
Mhm.
well. And I'm like, "OMG, she's half Honduran like my mom." And I just started to search up characters who were like, how many Puerto Ricans, how many Hondurans, how many Cubans, how many Mexicans.
Mhm.
So Jessica Cruz is the only superhero in Marvel, DC, and actually multiple comics like Boom Studios, Image Comics. She's the only superhero that has any Honduran blood in her. But her
Yes.
Honduran side is never talked about because the
Right.
Mexican side is the more popular one. And
Right.
sometimes that always makes me sad. I'm like, I know Mexicans are pretty popular in representation, and then yeah, I think like Puerto Ricans, and then Cubans, sometimes Venezuelans, Peru not so much, but like Hondurans, like I never see them talked about.
Yeah,
Whenever they want to talk about Central America, they just talk about Central America. Like they don't specifically say any country from Central America. They'll
yeah,
just say, "Oh, Central America."
they're trying to split Yara Flor that way too, aren't they? Is she from
Brazil,
she's from
Mhm.
Brazilian.
Brazil, but they gave her bolas, which are not a Brazilian weapon. So they're
Yes.
Mhm.
trying to have it both ways that way too.
Hey, Leo, just to clarify, designed by Ethan, but let's be honest, Ethan, besides drawing maybe a fit one of her fist during Jeff John's final issue, never really drew her outside, like in her initial appearances. That was all Doug Monkey during the Justice League stuff. So really, I always feel looked at it as more like Jeff came up with the character, Ethan just designed her.
I I need a break again. I will be right back.
All
Okay.
right.
Talk
More
amongst
tea?
yourself. Talk about smut. Talk about smut where I'm going, so I can walk in awkwardly the way Robert did. I'll be right back.
That's probably not gonna happen. But but
Oh,
yeah,
you
though.
called me old, Leo? I'm only 25. Gonna be 26.
Hey, hey,
Hey.
hey, I'm older than her. I'm 36, going to be 37 soon.
Woo. I
Oh, by
had
the
to
way,
go up into comics.
I do have my own character. I will be having in my on my own team called the Redeemers. One of them name is Mikey, who he has a stupidly long name, I should say, if he go by his full name. But yeah, he's like the muscle guy of the team. But he's Mexican, and my friend who co-created him always said he sees a lot of Eddie Guevara in him. The
Wow.
wrestler, the wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's basically this kind of guy who, when he does it, he basically comes off a bit like a Latin lover, like Latita eat and all that. But he's like, because his girlfriend gets killed off in the beginning of the sacrifice, he is very, you know what I mean, right? Goes through that whole Dominic, no, his name is a lot longer. I gotta go find what the full name is. Hold on. But it's more one of those comedically long, names for a
Like Esteban from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
no, I
He's
mean like
Peruvian.
multiple sub name parts of the name. You're like,
Yep. That's right.
Yep.
Whenever he says his full name, it's like 10. I have a friend who can name all of it. I
yeah,
can't, and I've seen it for years.
hold on, I try to find it. Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. It's like Miguel, like, yeah, blah 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 Sanchez at the end. It's just like, but yeah, like, just call me Mikey.
Amy from Superstore is Honduran? What? My sister watched it. If she was Honduran, she definitely would have said.
Oh,
Now I have to...
Isabella definitely is from Phineas and Ferb.
Isabella?
Yep.
What about her?
She they hear you.
Is everybody muted?
Sorry about that. That was my uncle. He was working on some stuff. I'm sorry.
Oh no! Oh, he wasn't chiming in. That wasn't a voice of God. I thought, oh, somebody has an answer.
Oh, what's the answer? Oh,
what is the question?
42.
42. Not new 52. New 52. New 52.
I would say that if you were to do that, that would be the answer for the DC universe. That would be the answer.
52.
What are we talking about? I was reading the chat.
The universe, and everything.
I was like, what did I miss in the chat? And I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to weigh in on this one.
Oh, Isabella is from Phineas and Ferb. She's like Mexican, right?
Yep. Oh, by the way, Leon, I gotta ask, where do you stand on this whole trans Amazon thing?
Oh God, that's a deep lore dive. Short version is, I'm fine with it based on some things Perez did like way back.
Yeah.
In the day
But that's
about
the
Amazon's
having. All right, but that's the problem people are having though. People are basically saying like, but then she's not really a woman then. A man.
What do you mean?
So isn't that what it means? Is she's the first trans person to become a fully biological woman by being reborn into this world, correct?
Right.
Exactly. But but that's where the issue people are having. People are having an issue with that, and it's just like,
it's just advertising that they don't do it right.
I don't like the whole terminologies surrounding this stuff.
Oh, and I will agree with that. I can agree with that.
I do think that we have, I mean, you cannot win when you get into the trans, non-binary, gender fluid.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think Disney used the gender fluid term wrong in Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're...
Oh yeah, it's another universe version.
Well, they're all individuals, right? Like Sylvie and Loki are not the same person. They're variants, so they're different people, right? Unless Loki does not see himself as male when he shapeshifts into a woman, he is not gender fluid. He is male doing a feminine gender performance, right? Which is not the same as the single person being gender fluid.
Yeah. Quick thing. Going back to earlier, I finally found that the character's full name. This is one of my original characters, Liana. His name is Miguel Alonso Rodrigo Orozco Sanchez.
Who's that?
A character of mine that I've created. He's Mexican. He's super strong, super strikes and everything.
Right.
But yeah, but my friend who co-created him gave him a more. I just went with Miguel Sanchez, and he's like, no, it's gotta be this stupid long name and all that.
It's like Pablo Picasso has like 23 names.
Yes.
Pablo
Yeah.
Picasso's full name. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, I
Oh,
okay.
thank you, Kevin, for like checking up on
Yeah.
Amy from Superstore. Because I know I have to watch it because my sister liked it so much. And Eileen, yes, when I did research, yeah, it was somebody named Crackerjack, from a DC Thriller comic, but apparently he died or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so there's no point in reading it if I know he's just gonna die. So I'm like, okay, so we need you. We just got Jessica Cruz now.
I mean, that's the whole problem of the whole Hispanic label, right? They think, oh,
I
it's
hate it.
like you
mm,
can lump everybody in and make everything interchangeable because it's the one identity label based on ling on a lingual
Hello.
designation, not a
mhm,
racial one, you
right.
know? And it's interesting though because publishers and like directors, sorry, production companies and stuff like that have finally realized that the U.S. Latin population is gigantic and growing, and so they're finally going quick, shove Hispanic people in everything. Get Wilder Valderrama on the phone. He's everywhere, right? And it just it does feel very very rushed.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, and
But yeah, I mean, well, that's part of the reason why whenever I've come up with characters, I always do try to go for. But yeah, I throw in mixed ethnicity, but I at least research it to make sure that it tries to stay. But I research it, but I also have my characters be a second or third generation, so I don't have to always bring it up. You know what I mean? It's like a case where if they delve into their history, yeah, but they don't. You're not always. If you're a second or third generation from an immigrant and all that stuff, let's be honest. How many of them really go into their history of their ancestral?
It's
it
like it all depends
yeah.
on
Well,
the
yeah, it all
person,
depends,
really. Yeah.
obviously.
For me, my parents, my mom's from Honduras, my dad's from Puerto Rico. The only thing my mom ever told me in Honduras, and other people who told me in Honduras, is like, hey, if you wear jewelry on your neck, they're gonna cut off your neck. If you have a bracelet, they're gonna cut off your hand to get that bracelet. If you can't even go to the bank at night because if you got $2, they're gonna kill you for that $2. And then when I say
Oh,
I don't want to go to Honduras, my mom's like, why? It's a beautiful country. They're like, oh, hey, you can't do this or you'll die. And I'm like, this is why I don't want to visit your country. Why you keep saying that
big
stuff?
signals, big signals.
And then for my dad, who's Puerto Rican, he just talks about, oh, I love Puerto Rico. It's so beautiful. The food is amazing. You get to drive and get your license at 10 years old. I love the music. And it's mostly just about how much he loves salsa and bachata because he's a musician.
I'm with them there. Every place is good and bad, right? And I think, as Eileen said, that's a very abuelita phrase. Um, but yeah, it's for everybody's back.
By the way,
Everybody's little
here's the Mikey character. My friend did a rough drawing of it.
Nice.
nice.
Yep.
That's very 90s 2D fighter.
Yep, but
Yeah.
but he has some better ones in the group chat, and I'll be honest. Let me just make this very clear: the characters are based off the Runaways. I think that's kind of obvious.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically, but it's the idea of what if the Runaways actually decide to become like superheroes?
sweet. Yeah, I think this gets into the question of right way to minority, right? And
Hmm.
I always think that's so based on where I grew up, that's so not the way it is. People
Yep.
have very personal, very individualized relationships with um their cultures. That's like when I was talking about the Song of Sparkle Muffin game and the fact that we have a mixed race character and it's mixed race. He's not black and that's it. He's mixed race. And that coming from two different places. Some people are like, I don't care. I'm from here, right? I don't care. I'm Canadian. I don't care. I'm American. That's what I am. I'm not from somewhere else. I was born here. This is me. other people want to connect to that, and there should be absolutely no wrong answers.
Right, there shouldn't
Yes.
be.
It seems like instead every answer is wrong,
Uh, oh,
right?
and by the way, the other thing also I should point out, one of the characters I really enjoyed working on is this character and this girl. Her name's Abby.
She
I
looks
like her
like an
jeans.
Abby.
Yep, she's
Are those
she's
boot cut?
what?
Mhm.
Yep, yep, but
Those
yeah,
are,
she's.
I'm wearing the same kind of jeans right now. Sweet. I like
But
your
here's
jeans.
Nice.
that's her in her human form. Here's her true form.
Nice. Cropped
Is that
now.
blue or is she
Purple,
purple?
purple.
Purple. Okay, cool. Cool, cool.
Yeah, but
How
yeah, she's
dare
supposed to
you
be.
not recognize Pepper, Liana?
My monitor is clearly not properly calibrated.
But the thing is, like, I come up with so many female characters. I'm always worried people are gonna be like, like, oh, why not give the dude? It's like, I just come up with, like, here's what I always do. I come up with the general concept, and I start to wonder what would this fit better with, a dude or a girl, or how many we had too much of with this type of abilities. Why don't we give some of these with this type of abilities to a girl instead of a dude? You know what
Well,
I
and
mean?
also you like creating female characters, and
Yeah.
that's the way your creativity works, and why should you have to explain it?
Exactly. And then I have
Right.
this whole arc I have with Abby because she's bisexual. But the thing is, she doesn't realize she's bisexual. She more, it's one of those cases where she grew up with, while she had some girlfriends, she never really had a person she ever had a big crush on until she meets a other person on the team named Minerva. Just one sec.
So she's basically comic book Cal Penn.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, did you see Cal Penn came out? He's
Oh,
apparently been with a guy for like 11 years. The guy from Harold and Kumar. And
oh,
he realized it very late in life. And
right. But
it was
basically, yeah, like I said, she meets Minerva, and she's head over heels in love. And
I'm a
unfortunately,
button fly.
my
I'm
friend
all
drew
about
this
the
longer.
jeans. Look at this.
I know, but like I said, but then the thing is though is that Minerva is over, and one Abby has a good friend named Ahai. I have all the characters obviously, so but yeah, you have or Alex. His name's Alex Hines, so Ahai. Um, here, yeah, that's Abby's friend, and he's had a
When
thing.
were these drawn?
Oh, these were drawn like long ago, like '06 or no '04.
Okay. Yeah.
'04.
That's about right with the clothes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and he's a liking for Abby. He's a telepath, and so imagine how it feels like when he realizes his best friend's crushing on this new girl they met, and she sees him as a brother. Yikes!
So I'm
And,
just studying the clothes.
my friend's
you
very
do that
good at
too?
doing clothes.
Yeah,
My friend is just very good at doing clothes. Like, and this was done much later. '08. This was '08.
I see steampunk goggles.
Oh yeah, that's Brainy or Brian, who Minerva's had a liking for. But here's the thing though, eventually to the point where Abby dies. But due to her alien nature, she's not really dead. She's in a death-like coma and comes back. The thing is though, with Minerva, it hits her hard. And when Abby comes back, Minerva misreads her feelings.
Yeah, you can super see the Runaways inspiration in this for sure.
Oh yeah, Minerva's clearly Nico and Abby's clearly Carolina.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, though, is that but Minerva misreads her feeling, how she's feeling for Abby, and mistakes it for love.
Right.
And thus the two get into a relationship, and eventually Minerva starts to question it. She's like, I never saw myself as one way or the other, and now Abby is completely like in bliss. You know what I mean? She seems like I'm with this girl, my dreams, and all that. And eventually, it's like with her, she's ecstatic for the whole time. Minerva, it starts to come down, calm down, if you know what I mean, and then realizes, what have I gotten myself into? I mean, now, what do either of you think of that? Does that sound like I have a good idea where I'm going, or do you think I could end up offending some people?
I honestly
Oh no,
think almost every idea can be a good idea.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but do you think I should? But it is a case where I should very tread carefully, right?
No, I
Def-
don't see anything wrong personally.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I
because
mean,
yeah.
define tread carefully, right? I mean, I think you
Well, because it's the
should.
idea of I'm pairing these two up as a couple, and then
Right.
eventually one realizes maybe I'm not, and all
But
that.
that
Some.
happens. Like I
Oh,
got
I
real
know. Oh, I
quiet. I
know.
got
But
real quiet there because I was like, "Shit, man, that's high
Well,
school."
I
Uh,
know, but there are going to be some people, but it's like I don't know if I even like girls like that way. That's
yeah,
what I'm
that
saying. So
that's
basically,
that.
there'll be a case where they're going to be in a couple, and then Minerva's going to, they're both going to go to the dudes. Then it's basically reverse Korra and Asami.
Yeah, I mean that's the issue with crushing on the really cute bi-curious girl in high school. It's just too hard, and they go date some like
But
really
the other thing
really
though is
popular
that
guy.
unfortunately, but the other thing though is also I kind of like writing Minerva and Abby together too. So I'm also torn. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like I
I
have
don't know. I agree with Bianca that people or anything can be done well. Somebody gets offended. Somebody can get offended at anything.
that's very true.
I'm not. I don't know. I know we're in this era of stay in your lane, but
Yeah.
I think of I think of male writers. Well, at least we assume they're male, who write female characters really well, like David Gator in video games, or Terry
Hmm.
Pratchett, rest in peace.
Oh
This
yeah.
idea, um, that men should really worry about writing women. The problem is if you're too in your head, you're not writing from your heart. So that's something. If you want to get sensitivity readers,
Hmm.
I am I
Again,
am very I
I'm
am
not
very
writing this for a checkpoint. I want to make this very clear to anyone who hears it.
yeah.
I'm not writing this to mark a checkpoint. No, it's just a case where I'm like, well, what would happen? What could happen with all of this? You know what I mean? Like, I also want to take the whole Nico and Carolina thing and turn it on its head a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, women are people, right? And
Yeah.
We are?
so looking at what?
Exactly. I'm talking to two girls. I keep forgetting.
Me?
I think Bianca does that every time I bring that up. Women are people. Just we are.
No
But
entiendo.
yeah,
Oh, by the way,
I don't know.
this girl's Emerald, by the way, and I'm pretty sure you could probably see the influence on her, right?
Danny Phantom.
Yep. And originally, she was a fan fiction character, the daughter of evil future Danny and Ember. Did you ever see Danny Phantom, Liana?
No,
Oh,
no. I'm just looking at the
so
hair.
that went over right over your head.
If
I really like blue hair, so I'm like,
I do too.
shiny.
Oh, yeah, but that's her. That's her. She has her own dual half. That's her human half. Here's her normal half.
Oh, that's a cute one.
Yep.
Of
And
course,
now
of
her
course, just
markings.
like the name Abby, it's like guitar now. No,
Oh,
the
you
last
want
of
something
us
that's a little
do.
on the nose? Where is it? Where is it? Please tell me I actually have it as an image. Darn it, I don't think I have it as an image. My friend did a drawing of basically them doing their own version of the Abbey Road cover.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I don't have it with me right now. Oh, also, here's Mikey's old girlfriend, Alyssa.
Oh, 3/4 length culottes.
Yep, now she's supposed to be Hawaiian.
Oh, she needs to be thicker there, man. She's
Oh,
Hawaiian. You got thicker leg
Hawaii.
on that.
Well,
Now I have an opinion. We're talking about ass again. I have an opinion. I now have strong opinions. Liana wakes up when the posterior.
again, my friend, he's very good. But I've actually had some pros draw these characters, like Jay Fosgood.
Oh, that's cute.
Yep, I'm trying to find some of the other ones I've had. Hold on. Oh, Jamal Eigel.
Ooh.
Oh, nice hair.
Yeah, that is gorgeous. I love that one. Tom Zoller.
That's good eye makeup. Nice
Yep.
blacks on that.
Yep. Agnes Garbowska. She did.
Agnes, really? Yay!
Oh,
Oh,
you know her.
I
You
love
know her.
Agnes. Everybody, if you don't know Agnes Garbowska, look her
Oh,
up.
I love her My Little Pony stuff, but yeah.
Oh, she
Oh, okay. I see
she
it now.
she's so good. Agnes did a story for me when I was still
Oh,
publishing comics. Agnes, love Agnes to death. She's a really underrated talent.
oh, she is. That she is
Yeah.
so sweet. She is so sweet.
She is. She's super nice, but she works hard
Oh
too.
yeah.
Agnes is
Speaking
fantastic.
of ponies, Toady Fleece, and like I said, I've had so many pros do a lot of my characters, like my character of Jewel. I think did I ever show you Jewel,
Yes,
Liana?
yes, that one's ringing
Yeah,
a bell.
yeah, yeah. I thought so. But for anyone who hasn't seen her, I'm trying to get the good one. Ah, yeah, that's Jewel. Oh, here's a better one. That's just the adult version of my character of Jewel. But I've had Ryan Stegman draw him. This was before he got
That,
big. This was
that's right. You showed me this one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This was before he got big. This was after he did She-Hulk, and before he did She-Hulk, while he was doing backup stuff. Of course,
Mhm.
that was back when I could afford him. After he went out, and then he got big. It's like forget that.
That's nice pencil shading.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
really nice pencil shading.
Leon, I don't know if I was showing you this one. No, this one is always going to be one of my favorites done. My character of Ninjetta, done by Ron Friends.
Yes, you showed me this one. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Did I show you, B? Bianca?
What?
Did I
Yes.
ever
Sorry,
show
I
you
heard
this?
newbie.
You
I'm
did.
like, are we back on video games? Sorry, Bianca.
What?
Yeah.
No, I was reading Eileen's comment and I laughed a little bit.
But
Yeah.
did I ever show you that one?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I did? Okay.
Mhm.
Well, anyone in the chat's getting to see this. Some of them are going to see this for the first time. But yeah, one of the other villains though we've done is kind of like a hobgoblin esque. This is my friend's drawing. Her name's Shoguness.
That
Yep,
is very
complete.
red.
Yep, bitch. Well, the whole point is what she's like. I said hobgoblin like.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought those
see
were
it.
tiger stripes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, another character, White Cat.
White cat.
Yeah, very much like Black Cat. It's intentional.
Yeah.
Why not?
we
White
all
rat.
have those. We all have those comics. We all have those characters from.
But she's not a thief.
Right.
It's just the name and similar outfit and everything. Although this case, her name's Sydney. Yeah, she is a full-on lesbian. But again,
Song
it's
asked
not.
me. I used to write comics, and yeah, I'm trying to see if I've got a book around, but I don't see one in reach. Sorry, Song. Yeah, I used
No
to,
walking.
Yeah, no walking again. I've been leaving a lot. But yeah, we did a thing when I was still on TV. We did comics jams. We published 3 issues, and it was basically to get local talent paid for
Mhm.
art in full color, because you get work if you've gotten work in comics, which is it makes it really difficult for people to
Billy Tucci.
break
This was
in.
before I knew about him
that's
doing She. This was before I knew about
gorgeous.
She.
That's gorgeous.
It is. I don't remember who this one. This one was just done by a person I knew online.
Well, that's nice blacks.
Yeah, I don't remember where that person, whatever that person went. But again, oh, I think I did ever show you this one, Sassy or Sassida.
Who does that reminds me of some character, the face. And I'm like, yeah, my brain is mushed right now.
That's the second generation. Her predecessor is this one.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Are those pastels or?
I do not know what my friend
is that
did,
computer?
unfortunately.
Okay.
Speaking of one of the artworks, the late great Norm Brayfogle.
Oh, nice lines.
Yeah, but this is one of those cases where he mistook it. He got the mask upside down. He thought the mask was on the head and she had the teeth, and I didn't have the heart to correct him.
That's when you get convention sketches, that happens, right? Because they do so many of them, and there is broken telephone.
I know, or they misread the reference.
Right.
Like with Visceru, so many people, my big bad Visceru, they give him a mask when he never has a mask.
Because I like drawing masks.
Wait, here's the reference. Can you see
go
where they
ahead.
get a mask?
Yes, I do.
But what I still always love was when Norm Ratman did this.
Oh, that's pretty.
No, but you notice it's his way of doing it, doing the mask without it being a mask. And I'm like, that's official. That is official. That
Yeah,
is now part of their race.
it's more like scarification or
Exactly.
markings than a mask. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, it's official. Oh,
Cosplay makes you realize masks are kind of a liability because they either have to affix to your head, they either have to be held on, or they've got to cover your whole head, or they have to be glued on. And they always give female superheroes these cute little glued on masks. And
oh yeah.
I
Then they claim it's spirit gum or something.
yeah, but even with spirit gum, it's like, wait. I used a silicone 2-part adhesive. And even then it's, wait. I gotta mix it. I gotta spread it on the mask. I gotta stick it on and then hold it in place for 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, you're not stopping that bank robbery.
Right.
This is the reason why my favorite characters don't have masks.
Right.
Yep. Now, I should point this next one out. Remember this. My character of Jewel was originally tied in with my life as a teenage robot.
Oh,
all right.
Okay. Okay.
So
yeah.
how do I do a proper zoom
That's
in?
That's Mega Man too.
Yep, but there's the teenager.
Yep. The truth is, for modern superheroes, I'll tell you the story about how I know this if you want, but for modern superheroes with facial recognition technology everywhere, face paint is as effective as a mask. Because face paint throws off, intense enough face paint throws off facial recognition software. And right. I know this because I was at a Comic-Con and it was next to a casino and I was cosplaying Chitara and they wouldn't let me in the casino to use the bathroom because of the face paint.
Oh, by the way, this is Jewel as a teenager. Here's her as an adult with her daughter as a teenager. Now, I want you to guess what is and what her look is based off of.
Me on a Friday night.
Karen Gillian from Jumanji.
Okay. That's why. Karen Gillian. But
and then here's Jewel. This is her daughter. Her name's Ruby, by the way, as an adult. You could just ignore Jetty, but can you tell what her outfit now is based off of?
Cortana?
Lightning.
From the Final Fantasy?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But
I know something.
Just this idea of, like, again, the fact Jewel, could you see Jewel going from this, looking like this, to looking like that?
Yeah, I mean, I see similarities.
Yep, and then from here, you can definitely tell, that's her. That's her. She's just like her mom.
We haven't gotten to this discussion of the Tomb Raider 25th anniversary.
Oh, gee, you're right.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that as our
final
topic.
Let's do that. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm surprised nobody.
I was trying to keep it going because you've admitted you didn't know that much about Uatu.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody noticed it. I'm so happy people know who this character is now.
Well, can you believe the actor, the guy who voiced him,
Jeffrey Wright?
Yeah, his star is booming in geekdom within a few years. I mean, you have him as Commissioner Gordon. You have him as Uatu. You have him as Batman in the audio, that audio adventures.
And he's Bernard in Westworld, and that's why he's in everything else. Because
Felix in James Bond.
Yeah. No, I love Jeffrey Wright, and he's been around for a minute. So I love it when people's careers break late. It really makes me happy.
Right. But so yeah, with Tomb Raider, 25 years of Lara Croft, 25 years of being known for two things, one on the left and one on the right.
Ah, what, the pistols?
Which pistols?
The twin pistols that got replaced by a bow and arrow and
but yeah, see though, Lara Croft can you believe it? It's like 25 years. Like, where does the time go? And she's gone through 12 games, 2 reboots, 3 movies and how many more of other side media stuff. It's just like,
And
and remember,
hopefully we'll get a good movie one of these days. Oh, I said that out loud. Oops.
you did not like the recent one.
I no. No, I did not like the Alicia Vikander movie.
Now,
That's right.
did you
Who
not
was
like
in
did
that
you not
crap
did you
movie?
did you not like her in it, or did you just not like how the movie was done?
She was wasted. And what I didn't like, spoiler about the ending, is the big ending scene of the Tomb Raider movie is two old dudes fighting each other while Lara Croft hides
Oh yeah,
behind a
she is so
statue.
ancillary in her own movie.
Yeah, well, there's something about that with female heroes now. I think they're afraid to let them do anything. But I have something. I should have pulled this before. I have something for this conversation.
All right. Yeah, you got a point, Leo. They did shrink her down in 2013.
They shrunk her?
She's nowhere near as voluptuous. Oh yeah.
This is an Entertainment Weekly copy from December 2002. And this was one of the things about the whole phenomenon of Lara Croft
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah, back when
the
she was like a
address is totally out of date. Good. But
you remember when she used to be the spokesperson for products like credit cards?
this is the thing that a lot of people know about Lara Croft from stuff like this.
Yeah.
Not because they actually played the games, because the games
True.
back then were actually pretty challenging.
Oh yeah, they
And
were.
so a lot of people thought that Lara was just a look, and she really did. But notice the other things that were going on in gaming at the time. Do games make kids more violent?
Oh yeah.
Nothing has changed. The Sims Online, a tour with Will Wright, a sneak peek at Doom 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it just sort of, and then it was Smallville and Snoop Dogg were big at the time. But yeah, I mean, it just this was the thing about Lara, is that her pop culture awareness, because the only reason they could put her in the cover is how video games are changing the face of pop culture. You couldn't do it just about a video game, right?
Right.
They weren't mainstream enough. There's a very young Viggo Mortensen in this, but
Bigo.
you know, I mean, look at this. Look at this schlocky layout, right? Video Game Nation.
Oh boy, that reminds me of the old advertisements you would see in Nintendo Power and all that.
Yeah, but I mean, they had to find a way. Lara Croft was such a phenomenon, and but you couldn't just, oh, it's a video game. Video games are cool. No, because video games made kids violent. And so they sold this image. And so many people were exposed to Lara Croft based on the boobs instead of who she was as a character. And unfortunately, I think the developers of the game and the industry itself started to internalize that.
And that's why they toned her down then afterwards.
Yeah, and they thought the character needed fixing, and there were so many.
Now the first reboot handled it better, I think, because it was still pretty much not that different from the first series.
Oh, the Crystal Dynamics games were, I think.
Well, the first three.
Yeah, what is it?
The Legends trilogy. The Legends
trilogy. Excellent games. Really, really well. It's funny. Lara Croft is nowhere in this magazine. They just put her on the cover. There we go. But I mean, Toby Gard left and came back. Kevin. It's funny. People keep bringing up the GTA thing, but Lara, I am very sad about what's happened with Lara Croft. I mean,
you're not a fan of the other reboot trilogy?
We all know the story of the boob slider, right?
The what?
And
no, she doesn't. She doesn't.
Oh, Bianca, you don't know this story. Okay. They were showing something, the mouse slipped, and so basically the boob slider went to infinity, like 500, and they all kind of.
I thought it was just 200 or something.
And everybody, well, you know what? That kind of works, and that's why the original Tomb Raider game, they're like triangles, because it's just a polygon stretched to infinity. And that it just sort of was one of those things that
They saw
stuck.
that and like, that's, yeah.
They're like, okay. And you know, you were a kid on the PlayStation, the original PlayStation. You delighted in backing Lara into corners to make the camera like zoom in on the
Oh, come
boobs.
on. You had the whole nude raider,
Yeah,
rumors.
but I mean the original, they keep trying to make the original design direction that they had with Lara Croft work, and it's flawed, and I'd like them
Hmm.
to stop. Because the whole idea of wanting to protect Lara based on the psychology that James Cameron used in the Alien movies,
Hmm.
a a player is not an audience.
Right?
Nobody, do you want to protect Superman? Do you want to protect Batman? Do
No.
you want, no, you shouldn't want to protect an action hero just because she's female,
And then what did
right?
they end up doing with her in those games? They made it be she brought more destruction than the bad guys.
And eventually they moved away from it because they discovered that uh the players found the ragdoll physics hilarious, and so we all did
Hmm.
it. The platforming got frustrating, so we just hucked her off that cliff onto the rocks so
I,
she'd bounce and land into the water.
yep. Although,
um
was it funny that it took until the last two of the original core games before they put in jiggle physics?
well, okay,
No, 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 no.
she
I'm laughing at that. It took like until
no,
the
but
last.
Tomb Raider 2, they actually added the braid. She didn't actually have a braid at the back of her head in the original game. It
Hmm.
looked like a testicle that had been chopped in half on the back. They did not have the processing power to even do a braid
Right.
until Tomb Raider 2. And that was sort of the marvel of that game, is if you look at the graphics, that's why we had box art back then, because you could take a picture and,
Hmm.
okay, you know, here's Pierce Brosnan on the box of Goldeneye, so that weird Picasso like triangle head character in the game. You
Yep.
can kind of, if you know, if you sort of look at it sideways with one eye closed, you can kind of see that. People use their imaginations, and we were playing on CRT TVs,
Oh
which
yeah.
kind of smoothed everything out, right? It but the idea that players should want to protect Lara Croft, they keep trying to force that back in, because that was the whole purpose of the 2011,
I just say the
the
recent reboot. I just say the recent
the
reboot.
recent reboot. That was the whole purpose of it, to go back to, and those really, really gruesome survival
Ugh.
horror deaths,
Oh,
right?
I just restarted the game just
Yeah.
recently and getting crushed by
Oh,
the boulder.
I was like, these are just
And the fact
torture
is,
porn.
people point this out like, oh, why is the man doing it? It was a woman who wrote those games, and yet why is
Well, that, okay, writer is not
Oh,
narrative
right,
designer. So
true.
I do think Rihanna gets too much credit and too much blame. She
Hmm.
apparently mostly just did the campfire scenes.
Oh, that explains.
Which are the best writing in the game. The problem with that is I wanted to listen to what Lara was saying and her thoughts and feelings about the whole thing. The
Hmm.
problem was the game came to a dead stop with
Uh,
those scenes. You
yep.
couldn't walk and talk, right? But
Yeah.
the whole idea of Survivor Lara,
Hmm.
and it was just so dissonant to me. Again, we don't ask the Doom Marine to make sense, right?
Nope.
We
We can make the
don't.
world around him make sense, like in the recent Doom games.
Right, exactly. They did a brilliant job on the
Oh
lore of
yeah,
that game.
and yet he's still rip
Yeah,
and
and
tear your
poof.
guts.
Yeah, he doesn't press anything. He punches things.
Oh, exactly. He'll stop to listen for a moment, be like,
Yeah.
okay, why don't you tell me? Yeah, that's what I thought.
But the guys in Gears of War can joke about the fact that none of them wear helmets in a firefight, but
Exactly.
everything about an iconic female video game character must make sense and be knowable. And
Yeah.
no, right? again, we're overthinking these characters, and you
Metroid
don't,
Other M.
and you and at which Kotaku apparently thinks is superior to Metroid Dread in some ways. Yeah, I'll let that hang. But I'll let that
What?
hang. Yeah, I'll let that hang.
I'm sorry.
Like
What?
He-Man's ball hair from the previous conversation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Crash.
Other M is better than Dread Kotaku.
They.
Oh, I
Dude,
forgot. I forgot. Kotaku
Dude.
and Other M was handholdy as hell.
But no, but also they basically wrote a "Dear Samus Aran, you're a badass, but smile more" article, so we can know you, so you're more human. And
They went too far. They made her. Don't they remember how subservient she was in Other M?
Yes, we don't talk about Other M.
Yeah, it's like yes. I mean, I gotta
Let's talk about Other M.
I like
Other M.
I like the
No,
stuff.
we don't talk about Other M.
I like the stuff implied about Samus and Adam in Fusion.
But I did see Liana's video about Other M from
Kotaku. But once Other M did, you're like, okay, wait a minute. No, it was made clear in Fusion it was respectful. It wasn't, I can't do anything unless you tell me what to do. And yet at the same time, she's supposed to be rebellious, and yet she does what she's told.
But here's another thing where a male game journalist, I assume, is insisting that for a female character to be valid, she must be knowable. That's wrong. Like, that's just wrong-headed. You go back to that original Tomb Raider game, and that opening scene where Lara basically uses the Sherpa as bait to overcome the wolves, and she doesn't give a fuck that dude just got et. That is such an introductory scene. It's so good.
Let's go for a similar parallel. Do we need to know too much about Indiana Jones when we first introduced to him? Why is it because as a woman, we need to know? When it was a guy, we could just dive right in.
It's the old adventure serial idea of you give, characters delivered in a few lines, and you learn as you go. You get to know the characters as the story progresses, and there's little things here and there. It's the old adventure serial storytelling because you need to get into it fast.
Which is exactly, and hey, remember, Laura was meant to be an Indiana Jones character.
That's right. That's right. I remember when they were previewing Uncharted, and everybody at E3 was calling it Dude Raider, which I found kind of funny.
It's Indiana Jones for just younger and more contemporary.
Yeah, it's all common.
Where do you stand in Tom Holland, by the way?
I love Tom Holland.
I'll be honest, I'm more annoyed about Marky Mark as what's the guy's name?
I just love Tom Holland, and I have to keep reminding he's one of those ones that
he's too young. He's way too baby.
He's not a teenager. No, I think
he's the same age as me.
Yeah, I think it works because it's actually an interquel. It is? Yeah, the story takes place after the flashback in Uncharted 3 when he's a little kid, but before the first Uncharted. So he actually is younger. He's younger. Sully's younger.
So okay. Then why don't they ever make that clear? They never make that clear. They're acting like, And unfortunately, I think they were basically doomed the moment that fan film came out.
Okay, but if we're talking about Holland, you've seen his lip sync thing, right?
What?
His lip sync battle with Zendaya.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You don't know Tom Holland, until you've seen Tom Holland doing Umbrella. Sold. I will watch anything he's in. It's like The Rock doing Shake It Off. Like, I'm just good, man. Put Tom Holland and The Rock in a movie together.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the Uncharted movie is probably not going to be great because it's a Sony adaptation.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be able to. I get really angry at video game companies who finance movie adaptations of their work and then totally beta to Hollywood. It's a movie. It's not a video game. That is not as meaningful as you think it is. The big challenge with a video game to a movie is just the sheer amount of time you have to tell a story.
Oh yeah, I mean
That's it.
that's why, for example, I would say this. That's the problem with Venom. Let There Be Carnage. You couldn't do Maximum Carnage with a 2 hour whatever, and also introduce the character, introduce
That's right.
Shriek, do stuff with Venom and Eddie at the same time.
Yeah. So that's the sort of the problem is not, oh, audiences have to understand it. No, you basically you can tell the tutorial level in a video
no
game.
boy.
Okay.
Do we want to go into this? Do we want to go into this?
I can. I've talked about this a lot. So
And now, B, this is also one of your things too.
I watched the anime.
Are we all familiar with the fact that
Yep.
they sort of nerfed face costume?
Well, we've all, yep.
Yeah, we all know that.
Yeah,
I saw her
Now,
and
is it all
everything.
now? As far as how do we feel about that?
Remember earlier I was saying I have to find out ways to not be an asshole about things. So if I do end up watching it, I'm gonna sit down and I'm not gonna make the mistake I made with the Witcher series.
Oh boy.
It's just a TV show. It is not an adaptation of my actual favorite Witcher short story ever, which I enjoyed. And then there was a lot of things about the Witcher show. I'm like, I did not hear her, right? It's gonna be on its merits. The art style was such a part of Cowboy Bebop. I do not know if they do the ship designs real justice. I'll be happy. But let's
is it
face
true
it,
that
it's gonna
Ed
be
isn't
CGI.
in this show? Is it true?
I have no idea, but it's just
No
I'm gonna
idea.
watch it as its own thing. I'm not gonna watch it as I want it to be the anime, right? It is what it is. I am getting to the point. Sort of these things. I am getting to the point where I am seeing everything I love die. So you know, like there's. I voice my views on this. People get really upset about this. Um, it was another one where I think people attacked the actress.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasoning they attacked the actress, I'm like, do you understand the character she's playing? Like,
Exactly.
her and
The way she was
Valentine,
Exactly.
you expect her to be
Yes.
demure and nice? Like, yeah, she got feisty, and
yeah, which is and now
yeah,
that tells you then okay, she's going to get the character. That's what I thought when I saw it. I'm like, she's going to get the character. She's going to get the character because she's acting like her right now in her real life.
ABBA will never die, but ABBA is retiring. They've said we're done.
Really?
Oh yeah, they said after this no more. There's 2 unwritten songs. There's 2 unfinished songs. They're not going to finish them. Voyage is it.
Hey, you know what? One game, I'm surprised they haven't made into a movie yet or a TV show. Life is Strange.
It already
Ew.
is a TV show.
I know, but you're surprised that no one's actually just taking that extra leap.
Wait, it'll happen.
I mean,
Sorry.
Life is Strange is one of those games. I have tried to play the first game 4 times. And
each time you couldn't make it through.
well, it starts in that scene where it is in school and it's this journal and there are stickers and it's all cute and girly and it is like this weird form of dissonant dysphoria where I cannot stand to be in that virtual body and I just nope right out of it.
I gotta say, if I was super straight. So wait a minute. You're basically saying that Faye should just be about how she looked, and they should just match the costume, and she's all look, no personality. Then you don't know Faye. Most people like her for her personality, in addition to her look, not just hotness. And even then, she wasn't. The funny thing about Faye is I think people over exaggerate her hotness, kind of like people did with Lola.
Her shorts in the original manga were a combination yellow raincoat and plastic grocery bag. Like you can't wear that as a human being. It's saggy draws. It would be the same problem as Beast He-Man's loincloth.
You're going back to that.
I'm going back to that.
We will
That
go
is
back
where
to it forever.
every time I get lost, that's my respawn point, man. He-Man's ass hair.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the reference to cinematic cutscenes, I do think that when we try to make everything cinematic, when everything has to be a movie, sorry, that was a comment in chat. When everything has to be a movie to be valid, this is where we get into trouble,
Yeah,
right? So
I will agree with that. I will completely agree with that.
yeah, I don't need the stuff I like to be validated by being made into a movie.
Well, look at Assassin's Creed. Look how that went.
Yeah, that was a
They made two,
huge
didn't
It is,
they?
and you know what the funny thing is? Obviously, Fassbender and how do you say her last name again? You know, in Tomb Raider.
Cotillard,
Yeah,
Marion
you know,
Cotillard. Yeah.
yeah, husband and wife, but they both of their movies came out the same year, and they both bombed.
Oh, sorry, Alicia Vikander.
That's what I meant,
Not
Wakanda.
yeah. We should just start calling her Alicia Wakanda because that's what it sounded like, and then
I
somebody will
know,
get mad at
but
us, and
you
then
know,
we'll get canceled.
yeah, they're both married. They both did video game movies the same year, and they both bombed. And I would say so. I am so upset that the Warcraft movie didn't do so well internationally. I liked it.
Okay, here's my thing about the Assassin's Creed movie, right?
Hmm.
You're making an Assassin's Creed movie.
That's both canon and its own thing.
Right. But what is one of the things about Assassin's Creed,
It's the
right?
stealth.
But also there's some exotic past culture,
Hmm.
right? They've never set um they've never set an Assassin's Creed game like the whitest we get is France and Italy,
Yeah.
right? The white guys are the bad guys in
Hmm.
Assassin's Creed. And you cast Michael fucking Fassbender. That was the first indication that there would have been a problem.
Hmm.
Like the assassins were Ismaili Muslims. They should have started there, right? You use the old world, use that. I mean, Desmond Miles was the whole point of him was he was so mixed race, he was everything. Like they could pull a million genetic lines from him, and they
Hmm.
just fucking Magneto, man.
Hmm.
I do not get the appeal of that guy. He is just Brie Larson's performance in Captain Marvel in everything he's in, and she was being deliberate with that.
Yeah.
And it's like
As seen in the you had seen her doing a much better performance at the post credits of Shang-Chi, I might add.
I kind of like the fact that they've made her kind of goofy now. I
Oh, I
think they
did,
know they have
I
to
did too.
redeem
I
her, but
loved. I what now?
people haven't seen Shang-Chi, so let's try to avoid
Well,
spoilers. But
well,
yeah,
I'm just saying, though, how much you want to bet though, and do you think she'd like to do it and like doing it, and how much of it part do you think she was like? "Urgh."
which part? The Cipher character in the first movie, or
Oh, no, no,
the character now?
I'm talking about that bit in Shang Chi. How much of it was it like I don't want to do this, but they're making me, or how much of it's like, oh, you know, I'm gonna have fun.
I don't. That's it's a big spoiler, so
Well,
I
it's
think
I
she
wouldn't
was
say.
having fun. I think she was having fun. Um, so yeah, I think she was having fun. Brie Larson's another person I think got really piled on unfairly for the Captain Marvel movie. That movie just became an inexplicable culture war thing, and
I would agree with that, but I'll say even when I saw it, it wasn't the worst movie I saw. I give it it was like one of my mid tier ones, but it was for everything around her. It wasn't her herself, especially the climax, making her just when Super Saiyan and nothing touched her. She was a complete Mary Sue. It's like Ray was less of a Mary Sue than Captain Marvel was.
okay, but then you get into because the whole Thanos thing, Infinity War bookended Captain Marvel, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so they hype up like so OP'd, right? And then she's the one punch character. in Endgame, right? Like there she is. Okay, Captain Marvel is gonna go down. Thanos just goes boom, and that's
Oh,
it.
yeah, without Grant, and they claim, oh, he had to grab the power gem. It doesn't matter.
I mean,
Wanda did better than her.
which sort of makes sense,
But
but
I still love that line. You took everything from me. I don't know who you are.
yeah,
You will.
that that I was so bummed that they hyped her up so much, and then it was freaking
Lackluster.
yeah, it was what's her name, Guy Gardner in the One Punch comic, right?
Ah.
Like
One punch. That was the Bwahaha era.
yeah. Oh, Bianca must not know this reference.
Nope.
Which one?
It's from the old. You know who Guy Gardner is from the Green Lantern, right? The guy
I
with the
love
bowl
Guy
cut.
Gardner.
Yeah. At one point, Batman just decked him and one punch, and he never lived it down. Never. To this day, people still fit in the one punch moment.
Well, because Blue Beetle is in
Yeah.
the background. Yeah, like Batman
One punch.
yeah, like Guy Gardner gets up in Batman's face, and Batman's just straight up just like, well, you just see this fist and bonk, and what is it?
Ted Cord.
Yeah, somebody else is. I want to call him the Vision, but it's the
Booster?
DC character.
Martian Manhunter.
Fate.
No, but
Blue Beetle.
but Ted Cord, Blue Beetle is in the background, going one punch, one punch, and after that says, "Oh, it's Miracle Man."
Miracle
in
Man.
the background, yeah. But
Miracle.
yeah,
No. Miracle Man's not a DC character.
sorry, Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
Mm,
Mr. Miracle is a DC character. Isn't
Yeah.
he?
Mr. Miracle. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mr. Miracle. Yeah.
I'm searching. Yeah, it's Mr. Miracle.
Yeah. Scott Free. Scott Free. Yeah. Scott Free.
next to Ted Cord, and
But yeah,
Blue Beetle
but yeah,
just
Ted's is
going,
like-
one punch. Yeah, it's and so ever since that, if a character just gets taken out in one punch, I was sitting there going, one punch. I was Blue Beetle watching Endgame,
Mm-hmm.
but then
Oh, I can't wait for Captain Marvel #2.
What do you think about that? Does that tell you that they know they couldn't do much with Carol?
Oh yeah, they're telegraphing that it's complete dead end when you need to bring in Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau because you don't have a second story.
Because and that's the one problem with it being a prequel. You either have to make sure you have stuff planned out for the modern day, like Captain America did, or
okay, but also, how do I put this? It's the same. A buddy of mine described the Black Widow movie as a bunt. Okay, we did it. You happy? And I think they've realized now we wrote an entire movie where we really don't know who Carol Danvers is.
Exactly.
So
except for the fact, I am woman, hear me roar.
And even then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're going to put in two other characters so they can actually have something happening.
One's already established and very already more beloved than Carol.
But you notice they totally bailed out of the Skrull. Like, I really thought they were going
yeah.
somewhere.
That ticked me off. I thought they were going to still do Secret Invasion.
I thought they were going to go Secret Invasion next, and they're doing.
It's like you had to create the Chitauri because you couldn't use the Skrulls. Now that you can use the Skrulls, this is what you do with them.
And they've. I don't know if they're doing like long game. If they get another wave, they'll do Secret Invasion or something. But yeah, again, bold move going with Kang the Conqueror and the whole Immortus thing.
Yeah, to be honest though, he was the natural next one. He was the natural, after Thanos, really.
I just love the casting for him. I just, all right, this is not Thanos. I was so pleased
which I still say though with Thanos, I both liked how he was handled, but I'm still having my issues. Much like with Carnage, I'm just like because Thanos is one of my favorite villains. He is my second favorite villain of all time.
People hate it when I say I was so fucking bored by every second of Thanos. So bored.
I'm just saying I love the character, seeing him on the big screen gain such love, but I'm not going to argue. Especially just the idea of, I'm trying to bring balance. No, it's because you want a bone death, and you want it to swipe up.
He's the Mad Titan. Let's do lengthy monologues where I am very logical, except for profoundly flawed.
Oh, quick
First,
question. Quick
principally.
question. Quick question. Have you, Liana? Have you played the Guardians of the Galaxy game yet?
No, and I very much want
Oh,
to. A buddy of mine works on the game.
oh,
I'm so
it is
happy for him.
good. It
I'm
is.
so happy for
I'm
him.
telling you, it is so good. The story on it is actually really surprisingly deep.
I'm so happy with that game for completely personal reasons. I'm just
All
so
right. Why is
happy.
that? Why is that?
I just love Guardians. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, I really love the property, and
Mm-hmm.
they're getting kind of subsumed by Thor in the
Mm-hmm.
MCU now. I never thought Guardians would be a movie. I remember reading the comics and going,
No,
well,
which comics? The Dan Abbott, Andy Lanning, or the old stuff?
I got into it with Groot and Rocket. Like
Okay,
that,
so the
that
Abnett
run.
Lanning
Yeah.
one, the Abnett
Yeah,
Lanning
yeah.
stuff.
And it was
I
just
didn't want to
sort of,
clarify. I just want to clarify
yeah,
that.
it was just sort of like this will never be made into a movie. This can be mine. I thought that about Doom Patrol 2, and the first Guardians movie was good. I had some issues with it, but obviously a lot of those characters were complete reimaginings.
Oh,
I mean,
Drax. Oh,
Drax
don't
the
get me.
Destroyer was from
I'll be
Earth,
honest.
right?
I'll be honest with Drax. He's way better than this game. This is what Drax should have been. He's still taking things.
Oh, Batista sacrilege.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I
okay.
think this is the type of Drax that Batista wanted to do. If you go off of his more recent comments, this is
Right,
the Drax.
right.
But the game Drax is what Batista wanted to do,
Nice.
which is basically he's still very literal minded. Like he cannot understand metaphors, but he's intellectual. He's a bit philosophical. He basically talks about about his people's race and how he's upset that because of how his tradition is. He basically then was basically like my family, because they never wrote down their history like we're supposed to, because they were, my daughter was so young and my wife never did. They're not going to go into the fullest of our afterlife because of what Thanos did.
Yikes. That's
stuff like that. It's just this.
I mean, I'm happy that they actually managed, and they did the same thing that the first Arkham Asylum.
Oh yeah, the one where that basically felt like it's an amalgamation of things, but it's not its own. You can see this fitting in the comics. It's only when you got the city that it went.
Well, there was no Batman tie-in movie boxing in Arkham Asylum, right? And that not good Avengers game.
Now the story is interesting. The story is interesting, but the fact that it didn't, not great. It's interesting.
Nobody wanted to see what's his nut as Iron Man that soon after Robert Downey Jr.'s swan song. That's the big problem. Like, those actors are so connected to those characters.
Yeah.
You cannot use the movie designs and then, we're getting a bunch of really popular voice actors.
Nolan North.
Yeah. Really popular voice actors to do these. Nobody wanted to see that.
Now when you make them look like their movie selves, have them look like anything but their movie selves, sure.
Right, use like the comic.
Which is why I'm glad the Guardians game, you can unlock costumes that let you play as more closer to their comic selves.
I'm also just glad there's a Guardians property now with 100% less Chris Pratt.
I'm not touching that one.
He's the Chris that has to go.
I'm not touching that one. So I think you're not happy about him.
Can you say that one more time?
I said it's a Guardians property with 100% less Chris Pratt.
Oh.
I take
Why
it you're
is
not
the dude in everything?
I take it you're not happy that he's Garfield.
I don't care about Garfield. Mario, we talked about this.
I know. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm happy he's cast Iser. I just simply said I can see where they're going with it.
Like, Star-Lord is the guy you watch around in Guardians. Chris Pratt's perfect for that because you want it. Star-Lord should have a very punchable face.
Now, I tell you one thing when it comes to the Guardians that I am not been a fan of how much they've changed the character. And I don't mean just the movie, but even the comics. Gamora. I like Gamora. I'm just saying. I am not happy, especially when she's now so separate away from Adam Warlock that when Jim Starlin did the ending here, he doesn't even have it be like there's anything going on between the two anymore. Like she doesn't even give a crap about Adam anymore. It's like, what the hell? Even when Jim can't do anything, what does that say?
They rob Gamora of a lot of awesomeness and dignity
That's the
on
only thing from
numerous
Dan.
levels.
That's the only problem I have with Dan Abbott and Andy's Landing's run. They got her to a point, but then they made her something completely separate from Adam and the others that feels like, you know.
Yeah,
And then the movie didn't help. And then the movie didn't help.
Well, the first issue was Gamora is not a literal whore. Why did Drax call her a whore?
Oh,
She's not
that.
a literal whore. That was a mistake.
They make fun of that in the game. They make fun of that in the game. They make fun of that in the game.
That's my man. I'm not surprised. But then they rob her. They give her a stupid death in MCU.
And now she's replaced by a copy. They replace her with a copy.
Well, and I'm like, there's a cool scene in the Infinity War comic where she comes out of the yellow
the soul gem,
the soul gem, right? And so when that happened, I'm like, I know what's coming, and it would have been awesome.
Well, unfortunately, because as you pointed out before, Josh butchered the gems, the stones. He butchered what they are. It's like basically they're only in name only. They have none of their properties at all.
Also, and I know we're being super nerdy here, but also they get into this time travel is tricky.
Yeah.
Doctor Who does it right. Don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but to be fair, they are staying relatively close to how Marvel time travel usually works, but they have to add consequences to it.
Okay, but we're supposed to believe now that Kang, Immortus, he who remains, plotted out all that muckety muck time jumping because that is the only golden timeline. Because all that Immortus stuff was happening in the background, allegedly.
True.
How?
Now I think he's. Here's what my guess is. He probably looked at what history timelines had worked out in beforehand without him, and probably realized this is the best route to go. That won't ever lead to me.
Well, Doctor Strange said it was the only way it would work. So,
that one bit. Well, when he said that to Tony, yes.
But the one thing that's interesting is I mean, there is now no moral culpability in the MCU post.
By the way,
stabbing Kang.
Yellow
stabbing Kang.
Yep, Yellow Spider-Man. No, there's nothing going on for Tomb Raider's 25th besides a game sale.
Yeah, they've run that franchise into the ground again.
I mean at least Rise happened during the 20th.
Oh, so
I gotta say about that prequel trilogy though, it could have been salvaged. I think if Crystal Dynamics did the final game as opposed to Montreal, because that ending was so. Oh, we need to get rid of the main threats for everything. Let's have it be they all group up. They're all been invited. They're all grouping up here, and then they're killed off screen. Laura has nothing to do with it. Oh, and it turns out the big bad. Oh, he just wanted to hide this tiny little village. Oh, and let's make it be that Laura's father was the bad guy and deserved to die because he was going to reveal this place despite his supposed friend telling him, please don't do it.
A big problem with the modern Tomb Raider franchise is they resolve a lot of things in the tie-in comics.
Oh, yeah.
And so people miss it. And I don't understand why these video game properties with comic book spin-offs, if you didn't read the Gears of War comics, large parts of Gears of War 3 make no sense, right? So I get it. It's a moneymaker. They can't put certain things in. It's IP, everything like that. But they really are in all the talk of accessibility in these things. We have a massive accessibility issue in all of this nerd media in that you have to see 5 fucking things to understand what the fuck is going on in this current thing. Right? And people don't do that.
By the way, they just announced Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 have been delayed. Gee, what a shock!
It was all McCree's fault.
Why don't they just cancel Overwatch 2? You already lost most of the main people involved. Why try and do it when you now know and no one's going to want to touch it?
Because Blizzard burns stupid amounts of money in inefficient development and they get away with it again and again and again.
Do you think they're
That's
going to
why.
this time? Do you think?
It's completely possible that they will bail out of Overwatch 2 the way they bailed out of they bailed out of the game that became the smoldering embers that became Overwatch. It's very possible Overwatch 2 will never come out and they will rebrand as a different genre of game
Yep.
because the
Or do you
space is
think?
saturated.
I think it's going to become like almost Warcraft 3 Reforged level of bad.
I don't know what's the big almost trendy genre now. Like Fall Guys? I don't know.
Fall Guy or Among Us.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Come on,
I
that's
don't
right. Come
know.
on. What, you didn't know that? You're sounding kind of sus.
No, yeah.
I had to go there. I had to go
Well
there.
done. Well done. Fair. I don't know. I am happy that Blizzard's getting
Their comeuppance finally.
yeah, because the whole time Ubi was having its scandal, I was thinking about my own experiences with both companies.
Yep, I've heard you. I've seen
And
your videos about it.
yeah, and well, Ubi, like, I cannot deny that there was profoundly inappropriate behavior that happened at places like that. And I saw it against men and women at Ubisoft, is because there's late nights and a lot of alcohol involved and shit happen that shouldn't.
Now, I will always say this though with Ubisoft. At the very least, I will always applaud that when they're doing, like the politics in their games, they're always like they're not picking one. It's like, I mean, come on, Far Cry 5, everyone, where it's like, yeah, let's not just, let's not go there.
Yeah, but I mean, the demeaning treatment I suffered.
Oh
from
yeah, oh no,
Blizzard
that I would agree with. I would agree with
yeah,
that.
compared to, I mean, you can't behind the scenes treatment and the quality of games, different stories.
Oh yeah,
Right?
well, it feels like though with Activision Blizzard, it feels like both are happening.
Well, I mean, Activision Blizzard has been shoveling out derivative crap from, I mean, God, Call of Duty 67, right?
Yep.
It's Call of Duty and then some kiddie franchise, and then every once in a while they'll publish like a From Software game or something like that. It's all games as service in everything but name, right? Just shovel it out, shovel it out, shovel it out, and they make a lot of money. It the stuff going on at Blizzard Activision was so bad on so many levels.
Sorry, Ubisoft.
I get it now. I read that. And
Nice one,
okay.
Yellow. Nice one, Leo. Nice one.
Yeah. So, Blizzard Activision was just so shitty that I'm just sitting back and going, I had to shut my mouth for like a decade because no one would listen. And anybody that says, "Oh, there were rumors, but we couldn't prove it," horse shit. They didn't look. They didn't look. They were just they're chasing Samus should smile more and Lara Croft's boobs are too big, and they're not actually looking at the workplace conditions that make everybody miserable in this industry, but are part of the reason that you don't get more women, you don't get more people of color, because it's just.
And here's where I will agree: a parallel between video games and comic books is that their conditions are so, either their pay are so low or their conditions are so low, and that anyone who actually is of quality won't go there. So the only people they're getting are the ones who unfortunately would do it for cheap, and usually the ones who thrive on their politics or their activism and everything, and thus that's where it leads to an influence on everything.
Well, okay, look at how you get hired at a AAA game studio, right? You need to either know somebody or
just like
have
comics.
a resume. Right. And it's the same thing, right? People who have a ton of college debt who don't come from intergenerational wealth can't do that. They can't make their
Mhm.
own indie games. They can't do that. So while they're going, how do we get more women? How do we get more people of color in games? Well, you don't make
You don't make it so
intergenerational
almost
wealth
in.
and free labor prerequisites, right?
Yeah.
It just, and then there's just the cultural stuff, the hours, the fact that you are expected to give 80 hours a week, and people who
I'd
have
be dead.
commitments.
I'd be dead.
Well, anybody who has any sort of commitments outside of the office can't do that, right? You just you can't. And everything about it, they only wanted a type of employee that they could torture, burn out, and dispose of. And that doesn't mean they think, straight white dudes, or there's a lot of
Actually,
gay white
sorry.
dudes too.
Actually, Song W. Harrison, it's also because he's been having health issues too.
Yes,
Steven
that's
Sejic.
right.
That's the main
Yeah.
reason why. It wasn't so much that he was paid so little, because he was willing to jump onto a follow up to Harleen, and he gave up our way and just did that one bit for the Harley black red white black white red, because again he just couldn't do it, so he needed to work on his own scheduling for his own indie work because of his health reasons.
Yeah.
So
What
yeah,
about his wife? Is she
what does
completely
she do?
fine?
What does she
What?
do? He's
No,
got
I'm
Steven Sajic's wife, and I'm like, what does she do? I forget.
uh
Oh, sorry. Go
no
ahead, Bianca.
no, go 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 go
I'm
go.
saying I don't
Well,
know what she does.
this is sort of tying into where I was going to land. Is basically the reason there's a bunch of like white dudes in video games and in comics is because they're the ones that'll sign up for that particular kind of abuse, and they'll work until they get sick, and then next, right?
Well, that may be okay. Well, it's okay. Maybe he might say because he
Yeah.
might makes more. But let's be honest, though, he also enjoyed doing the Harleen books, and he would have loved to do it.
Yeah, the issue with comics is certain names sell books.
Certain names,
And
be it the title character or the actual creators.
that's correct. And so somebody asked if
Why are there so many Batman books? Because Batman sells.
Batman sells. And somebody asked if have you seen the writing getting worse in comics, and I maintain yeah, and that's just because they hire people to put their name on books, not not to actually write good stories. It was sort of openly talked about that Joss Whedon would write maybe one issue of a series where his name was on 6 books. Someone would have to ghostwrite the rest of it, but his name sold comics.
Now, here's a question for you. What's your thought on that whole image union thing? And when you actually read it, you realize, oh, they make a lot of good points, but really they want to gatekeep the books.
Oh, that's been Image all along.
No, I'm talking about this unionized group, these editors who want to dictate above the image creator, leadership, and they say, no, you're letting books we don't like getting through. We want to dictate what goes through above you guys.
Okay, here's the issue with unions in creative industries.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to have trade associations that advocate for workplace standards. The minute you insist on
everyone has to join us or you're gone.
I worked in television. I had to deal with unions. You know who ends up getting shafted in union?
The regular employees.
You know who gets shafted? Black people, Hispanic people, women. Unions have because unions protect their own. And so if you found a union in a not diverse industry,
who usually finds most of these who are these people who usually afford to properly get a union started?
Who exists at the company right now?
Exactly.
And that's the AICLU or whatever the heck it is. The big labor unions are like, no, we fight for diversity, but that has not been the history. There are historical letters. I studied in university with, the NAACP busting down the AFL-CIO for racism in their unions, and anything that exists primarily to guarantee its own ongoing existence is going to be an issue when it comes to new people coming in and creators deserve a certain amount of power. If people like your book, if people like your work, you should be able to move somewhere else and not have the union saying, no, you don't have seniority. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to say that what's that guy's name's called? Stefan or
Yeah, Sejic.
eh,
I think I'm pronouncing
sorry,
that wrong.
yes.
Yeah.
His wife, they both do like webtoons. Like one of
Oh,
them was
cool.
Sunstone. And the other one his wife is doing on right now, which is her own spin of mythology with the Hades and Persephone. The art is just so
Oh,
beautiful.
awesome. Cool.
Plunder World
A
was what it was called. Plunder World.
Plunder World. That union, the AFL-CIO was what I was going for, chatter. I'm gonna look this up now. Plunderer or Plunder World? Bianca.
Plunder World.
There's so much indie stuff right now, and so much of it is so good.
Yes.
That yeah, this is why I don't understand why people fight over big two stuff.
Oh, hey,
Because
I see Tristan's in the chat. Hey,
yeah,
Tris.
because
Hey,
there's
Tris.
so much stuff um to
Plunder World is
sample.
not Plunder World. Okay, never mind. It's Plunder World,
It,
I guess.
no, it's Plunder World, but there's more. I just looked it up. There's more search on Plunder World because so many people misspell it.
Oh.
Oh, you know what? One other thing I'm going to say, and this goes into on the opposite end of the aisle. When you hear people talk about, like, why can't we, for example, the John Kent thing, people want him to be de-age and everything so we can get him
Mm-hmm.
properly.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's like, but unfortunately, Super Sons didn't sell. Now it's because they didn't
They
market
didn't
it well.
advertise it, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, it's like, but people are saying, oh, but they should know. We should, like, them go out and prove it. And I always look back to, look at Spider-Girl. Look how well Spider-Girl kept saving itself from bankruptcy because you had smart fans who knew what to do to keep it going. But unfortunately, these days, you have no one who's that smart. They just think, oh, if we shout to the heavens, they're going to listen.
Which
No,
Supergirl?
no,
Oh, wait, you
Spider-Girl.
said
Spider-Girl.
Spider-Girl? Which Spider-Girl?
The Mayday one. It
Oh,
lasted
Mayday,
100
Mayday.
issues, kept on being on the verge of cancellation multiple times, and then finally made it by the end. But again, it's a case we got to say, you got to buy with your wallet to prove it, and you cannot just simply hope that, oh, everyone's going to be buying it because look how popular it is. And unfortunately, John sells more as a teenager than he does as a kid. I hate to say
Well,
that.
it got all this free PR too,
Oh, not even just the current
right?
stuff. I'm
Like,
talking before this title.
yeah.
Bendis sold a little bit more than Super Sons did.
Okay, but
A
that's
little.
why though. It's the name on the book,
Well, I know, but
right?
this is smart. This is business. They're not going to just look at that detail. They're going to look at, oh, so clearly more people want John as a teenager.
See, the truth is that if these parent companies were really interested in a long-term business strategy for comics, they'd recognize don't lose money. Farm IPs. You want the next Wolverine. You
Yep.
want the
Next, Kamala Khan. Let's be honest. Kamala was a big one.
yeah, you want the cool stories that will be adapted into TV and film and video games because that's where the money really is. Even a
Mm-hmm.
really good selling comic, you're only talking six figures, six-figure numbers compared to the millions of people that will watch a movie or a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
It just long term, it's silly to chase sales in floppy comics.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It should be stories first because you remember for ages it was, oh, I'll trade paperbacks because they'd gotten into Barnes and Noble and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? And a different type of reader was discovering those stories in
Mm-hmm.
compiled editions in trade paperbacks than they were in the floppies. And then digital comics happened.
Oh, yep.
And it's like they panicked. And now they're back to really
exactly.
pushing
Tristan,
those single issue sales.
go on.
Okay, the Kamala Khan books had some really great covers. And
Oh
that's
yeah,
part of the reason they
yeah,
sold well.
and she's right. It's like doesn't make it good, but it makes it facts, and which is again, I think so many people let their viewpoints unfortunately determine what override the facts. They want to say, "Oh, but what we didn't like it, so that means it sucked, which means it bombed." It's like, hate to break it to you, but look at the numbers.
Yeah, and as we were talking about Miles Morales, I mean, some characters take 10 years to really get in a place where it really works. I mean, comic book characters go through
Funny thing,
numerous iterations.
I just realized a funny case of an example of someone derailing a character, but the character becoming so endearing later on. Ultimate Reed Richards.
Yes, that's true.
Look at that case.
God, I haven't thought of that.
He's now the maker, and he's a great villain.
I hadn't thought about the entire Ultimate Universe in
I just
ages.
looked at my bookshelf and I just saw Ultimate Doomsday. Now the way Bendis
There we
did
go.
it was bad, but then when you get a good writer like Hickman and all that working on it, yeah, they made the maker has been a great villain, and him popping up in Donny Cates's Venom.
Yes, for sure.
I
Listen, guys,
know.
I gotta go soon. So, is there any
Well,
last
I was gonna start
topic
wrapping up anyway, but
yeah, is there a last topic we want to discuss? Bianca,
uh,
anything you want to talk about?
hmm. I'm trying to think of what I know. I had one, and it just left my mind.
So I'm just gonna say a little tiny announcement for any
Uh,
anime people out here. So we just got a season 3 confirmation of Kaguya-sama Love is War. We got a season 3 confirmation of Mob Psycho 100, and we got an anime confirmation for Spy Family, not Spy X Family. The X is silent.
oh,
And I'm super hyped because I was like, oh my god, just gonna have ugly animation compared to the manga. And then it's like Studio Wits doing it with Studio Clover Works, I believe their name is. And I'm like,
Wow.
yes, it's gonna be beautiful.
Wow,
I just realized actually one point. What do you think about the whole idea of these animes now getting stupidly long names?
I hate these
Haven't
novels.
they
I
always
died
some
in
of
another
them had
world and I came back to teach.
Yeah, I'm when they're getting to the ridiculous long names. It's just like, ugh. Oh, and apparently Doctor Who season 13 is flopping. I didn't even know it started. The marketing has been that bad.
I only know it was around because of Facebook, but I avoid Doctor Who fandom like the plague.
Yeah,
Doctor
but
Who fandom scares me.
I
I'll be
couldn't
honest.
get past the first season.
I'll be honest. I hope this if this thing continues flopping, I hope that makes it clear to them when they have Russell T Davis that he better ignore the Chibnall stuff because people are looking at him for hope, and if he's just going to double down what Chibnall did, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I avoid Doctor Who fandom. So, Yellow Spider-Man. I'm actually doing Tristan stream on Sunday.
Oh, awesome! Oh,
So,
and
yeah.
Awesome.
I just got this Friday. I'm going to be having Judd Winnick on.
Oh, grats!
Yeah, took me a while to get. I just DM'd him. He said, "Call me, let me know in a little bit. I got some stuff going on." Then he said, "Okay, send me an email, and I'll get back to you." Couple weeks later, hey, sorry for this, but hey, I'm good the next couple of weeks. And then I said, "How about Friday?" Okay, we'll do Friday. It'll be Friday at 2 p.m.
Nice get, man. Muzzle top. That's great.
Yeah, because I'm a fan of his work, but as much as I'm a fan of his comic book work, you know what? The one show that he did, and I'm a huge fan of, and it's not the reality show. Juniper Lee, The Life and Time of Juniper Lee.
I love Life and Times of Juniper Lee.
Oh yeah, okay. I've never heard of the show. Okay, cool.
Oh,
Exactly.
Basically, he called it "What happens when you mix Buffy with Simpsons."
Simpsons? Really?
Yep. That what I never understood the Simpsons comparison either, but there's a lot of Buffy parallels. I don't know about the Simpsons parallel either. But basically, it's the idea of this girl. She's name's Juniper Lee. She's the tertiary one day, and she's the first one. It basically is always passed down, from adult to child, whatever. And well, not to adult to child. Usually, it's passed down from adult to child, but the child's an adult as well, like an older to an adult. But for some reason, it skipped Juniper's father and went right to her. So this is the first time ever the tertiary one day it's been a child.
Okay.
So she's having to do all this stuff. She has girl actions to deal with. But the other thing is, she is stuck in Orchid Bay, literally until the next Surge Wednesday. She is magically bound there. And now we find this out much later on. But think about that. Her whole life has been totally upended because of her responsibility. She can't even take on a flight because there's literally a barrier outside the town that she can't go through.
Oh, it's a Cartoon Network show. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I'd never heard
Yep,
of it.
So
Laura
it's a
Jo
girl who
Miller.
sees monsters. She has to
Yep.
fight the monsters, keeps the balance from the monster world and our world, but she's destined to stay in
Yep.
her hometown. She is not allowed to leave.
To leave, yeah, and it's
Physically
It's
leave.
Lara Jo Miller's the voice, known for doing stuff like Kari from Digimon, among other things. I can never look at Digimon again after I hear her as June because she's always yelling and shouting, and I'm always expecting soft-spoken Kari to start screaming her lungs out.
And I believe this is Chinese, right?
Yeah, she's Chinese. Yes, she's Chinese, which
Yeah,
led
he
to
said
a great.
Mhm.
Sorry, which led to
Sorry.
a great joke during in the last season where her grandmother Amma gets de-aged into a teenager, and when she's at June's school, they start asking questions and everything like, "Do you know karate?" Okay, first of all, that's Japanese, not Chinese. Second of all, why is it everyone's always asking? It's always the same two questions: What are you, and do you know karate? Yes, I know karate, as well as 20 other forms of combat. And it's just like, but I just love that they make fun of it.
Now that when I see this cartoon, that line will not be as cool because it's not in Robert's voice.
Oh, trust me, when you hear
when
the
you
actual.
get going, when you get into rant tone, it's just perfect. It's like
Trust me, when you see this, it works. It does work. Because
Okay,
she starts to build up. Amma starts to build up her anger at first. She's like, okay, first it's this, not that. Second, and she just starts ranting. It's just like, because remember, this is an old woman in a young girl's body at that
the
moment.
cartoon is named
The Life and Times of Juniper Lee
Juniper
is the
Lee.
name.
Yeah,
The long
and
one.
it was a Cartoon Network show.
And unfortunately, it was greenlit for another season beyond the first two. But right after that happened, you had shakeup at management that didn't like it afterwards and screwed it over almost right at the gate.
Aww.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And it ended on the biggest cliffhanger of all. June is jumping around. She just had a big adventure. She's showing off her acrobatics, and her best friend, Jody, sees her doing it, drops all of her books because she was starting to get into looking about magic. And she's like, what the? And that was the last episode.
It's very hard for a Western animation to get more than 3 seasons anyway, just because that's when they can syndicate it, and they're like, no more diminishing returns. So
yeah. I know, but still, I would and check it out if you ever get. It's on Boomerang or Paramount Plus, I think, or whichever one of those. No, not Paramount Plus.
Get any of those in Canada, so I'm gonna have to go hunting for this.
Yep, but yeah, you will like it. It deserves so much better. It came out right at the same time as Danny Phantom, My Life with Teenage Robot, and Kim Possible. Everyone was wanting to have those people fight each other.
Okay, so it was Kim Possible era. Okay.
Yes.
Yep, right around that. Yep, but they all started. They were all in production around the same point, so it's not like they were intentionally ripping each other off.
Cool.
Yep.
Also,
all right, guys.
Yes, bye.
Yep.
No, go ahead, Bianca. What?
I was gonna say.
Jake Long and Jake Long.
And Jake Long. So the reason she was Asian is because Judd wanted more Asian representation because of his wife. And he asked her about like superheroes growing up and if she had any, and she's like, no, I didn't have any Asian superheroes. I didn't relate to anybody growing up. So that's why he decided to make the character and the whole theme Asian. Sheldon Showdown is also fantastic. Thank you.
I'll be honest, one last thing, very last thing. I am weary about one topic I want to bring up with Judd because it's the one thing I will never forgive him for. My favorite character was the female Dr. Light, and he wrote an issue that completely butchered the character.
Okay. I remember that.
You remember that issue?
I remember that issue.
Oh, what does that say? That people like, you remember that issue? It's like...
Because the female Dr. Light was cool.
She's one of my favorites. I know. And then what happens? Yeah. Her power is drained, and that was a case of basically being put in the fridge because she didn't matter afterwards. All it was to get Green Arrow's butt up and going. Yeah, Kimio. Uh, yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
and you know what? I still stand by this. I'm the reason why she got a second. I'm literally the guy who got it going. You know why? I asked at a convention. I remember this clearly. I once emailed Dwayne McDuffie asking like, "What's? Do you have any plans with her?" Not really. I went to a convention, asked a question to Dan DiDio. He says, "Check out Justice League." Next thing you know, she was in Justice League, and I asked Dwayne at a convention a year before he died. He said, "Oh yeah, after that convention, Dan said put her in."
That sounds like Dan.
And I'm like, so it takes them, and then eventually led to James Robinson using her because he took over the title after Dwayne, and then he used her in Superman, and then that brief resurgence of her was due to me.
Yeah, it's funny because that was a legacy character people didn't really complain about because of the way
Well, they
they
made her
didn't.
a hero. They did everything opposite.
They
Female.
also didn't do entire slates of legacy characters at the same time. Every single one kind of had their own moment. It
Oh
wasn't here's
yeah,
a whole new lineup that we're going to roll out and do everybody at once. And
exactly. Now, of course, because of what they later did was the male Dr. Light, it makes her. Why the hell did she keep the name a bit retrospectively? Like, yeah. Okay, but anyway, yeah. Let's start signing
yeah,
off.
I gotta run. Please.
This is our longest one. This is our longest one.
Okay. New record. Everybody, please check out the Boss Fight Song of Sparkle Muffin
Mm-hmm.
Kickstarter.
Yep.
The website is bossfightgame.com. Please
Mm-hmm.
check it out. We have made goal. We are
Yep.
funded, but we're going
Let's get the
for
stretch goal so that you can get more voice acting in it.
the stretch goals. Yeah, all the additional money is gonna go into paying voice actors. It's by
Nice.
far, yeah, it's
Meaning besides the characters that you voice, obviously.
yes, obviously I am not going to be voicing a mixed
Oh,
race dude
there was one
or
question I realized I
yeah,
didn't ask. Are you
yeah.
going to play? Is you yourself as a character, as in you, like you were in the boss fight show, going to be in the game? Or are you completely separate?
This yeah, I never say never. That's one thing I've been warned about. Do not say no if you're not
Okay, 'cause I'm
sure.
just curious because it feels like it wouldn't be the same without you as Liana, like you were in the show.
I
Napping.
mean, who knows? We may do
At the very least, as like opening to
a
the
fourth
game. You're like,
wall break.
yeah.
Um, maybe I don't know. We'll see how
I
it
say if you
progresses.
do, keep yourself live action when you do it.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out whether we'll have any live action components in it.
All right.
Just because of the art style, the retro art style, we'll
Mm-hmm.
see. But yeah, now the reason we're doing this now is because we're going to be able to integrate people's NPCs fairly seamlessly at this point instead of doing it the
Mm-hmm.
way most people do and at the end.
Right.
So
Well, I already know my NPC. It's gonna be one of those original characters I
oh,
showed
there
you.
you go. Okay,
A little bit of
great.
Mine will
marketing. A
also
little bit
be
of
interesting.
marketing.
Yeah,
I just gotta decide which one. But yeah, thank you
yeah.
both for coming. Going back,
Sorry.
I'll put a link to your Kickstarter in the description. Everyone, just go check out the show and check out the campaign. Check out her YouTube videos. And Bianca, do you have anything you want to any appearances on any shows you're going to talk about? You could talk about.
Not that I know of. I only got an Instagram, man.
I mean, upcoming appearances like Liana's going to be on Tristan.
Bianca. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I'll be on
not so
Tristan.
far. What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'll be on Tristan's stream on Sunday.
I will most likely be working.
Oh,
But yeah. Bianca, you got to get on socials. Instagram's good. Just
yep.
yeah.
So,
Get more
I know it
places.
sucks.
yep. All right. So
You not have your own YouTube channel, Bianca?
No.
technically,
So
you do now, just so you can have this video up on your stuff.
well, apparently that's what it did when I was on Tristan's stream this morning. I was forced to make an account, and so it was like I said, it wouldn't let me not pair my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is plugged in, and people were actually on my channel commenting on this stream, and I was like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, great."
No. Oh no.
And I'm like, "This is not what I
Chat.
wanted."
All right. So
Sorry, yes, the first two stretch goals are on the Kickstarter.
mm-hmm.
They've been there from the beginning. Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's-
maybe I'll start one soon. I don't know what I would
I'll
talk
I'll help you
about.
out. I'll help you out every step of the way if you need it.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you,
you have
Robert.
you have really interesting points of view on things. I'd like to hear more from you.
Thank you. Oh, Liana, I wanted to ask you a question. Are you like DMable on Twitter?
Yes.
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 Cool. Awesome.
I will have to
I'll link you.
follow
I'll link
you.
you her
Yeah,
profile.
yeah.
I will
Okay,
link.
yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Thank
Cool.
you,
Cool.
Robert. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I'm DMable. My DMs are not open, but I am DMable.
Yeah.
Awesome. I hope you feel better, Liana.
Oh, me too. This has been going on for weeks. I'm actually going to the allergist tomorrow, so I've had no antihistamines for a
Is it a
week.
cold?
It's asthma.
Oh, I know a lot of people with asthma. If you
Yeah.
like, if Robert ever gives me whenever Robert gives me the DM, I actually know a really good tea for asthma that I recommend to my friends for asthma. I
Sweet.
don't recommend crap. I have a chronic illness, so I can't afford to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just DM'd you. I just DM'd you that.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay,
Yep.
everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Take care. Yep. Take care,
Bye.
everyone.